Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Quirk Chronicles. Today, we're diving into an epic crossover. What if Deku went to the Seven Deadly Sins universe after being bullied? Imagine Deku leaving behind the pain and rejection of his world, only to find himself in the magical land of Britannia. How would he grow surrounded by the legendary Seven Deadly Sins? Would he finally find the strength and family he's always longed for? This one's gonna be an emotional ride with some serious power-ups. Before we jump in, make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying these crossovers. Alright, let's not waste any more time. Let's dive straight into the story. Aizawa could visibly tell that the marked students in specific were very motivated to catch up with the Todoroki siblings. He also noticed, however, there seemed to be some inner conflict within Izuku. He seemed completely enraged at Todoroki. He was ready to completely knock some sense into the boy. Don't you think you went a bit too unsafe with those other students? Mina questioned as she slightly raised an eyebrow towards her brother. She's right, you know, Shoto. The King of Fairies was worried for Shoto's destructive behavior harming innocent people, along with knowing Shoto himself wasn't exactly in the right headspace. I told you that I wasn't here to make friends. I'm here to win. The Todoroki siblings once again flew over the entire thing. They didn't even look like they were taking this seriously. Meanwhile, the other students had to, for the most part, just go on the tightrope. Some had advantages like Tsu's frog-like attributes, or Ida's engines allowing him to travel from rope to rope quickly. Momo in specific had a massive advantages as she smashed the ground, creating a rock for herself to float and completely pass the competition. If I use this, I can simply float over the entire thing like Todoroki and Mina, finishing this as fast as possible without any breaks. Yes, seems like a good idea. The giant queen congratulated Momo on her quick thinking, but however they were cut off by feeling the weight shit a bit. She looked down and Izuku, Bakugo, and Shinso all had grabbed onto it. What are you dash? Calm down, Yaoyorozu. I can do something that will help all of us make it farther. Momo was a bit hesitant but nodded. Alrighty then. What do you propose? I'll boost us across with my flames. He then deeply inhaled, trying to focus the flames to his feet instead of his hands. Alright, just focus the heat into your feet, and you should be able to fly like Endeavor. His feet suddenly emitted fire as they flew off in a burst of speed. Momo nearly falling from the change in speed, but thankfully she regained her balance. I'll boost our way over. Looks like the four other have teamed up momentarily, and are now rocketing towards the last step in the obstacle course. It seemed to be a giant Afghan carpet as Mike continued to hype it up. This is the minefield. It's a deadly Afghan carpet. Quick glance is enough to reveal the mine's locations. So keep both eyes open and watch your step. Todoroki and Mina turned to each other and then looked forward unimpressed as they once again started to fly over the mines. Mike just looked on as he started to sort of realize the flaw in this obstacle course. It was far too easy for anyone who could fly. Aizawa simply sighed. This is why I proposed getting better obstacles for this year. However, a shocking revelation came along, as while suddenly Todoroki and Mina were passed as their eyes widened. Holy smokes, folks. It seems our two flying contestants were just passed by Midoriya, Bakugo, Momo, and Hitsuhai. I told you. I wasn't gonna lose to you, Todoroki. Izuku shouted back at them. Mina gave an annoyed scoff as she swiped her hand to the right, smacking them with a strong gust of wind, blowing them off the rock and causing a giant explosion and smoke screen. Ugh dash! They all groaned as they were all sent flying. Todoroki and Mina passing through the smoke, completely unharmed. However, this didn't mean all hope was lost, as the others were mid-air. Izuku saw an opening. I'm really far above them. If I do this properly, I can win. This was a one-in-a-lifetime chance. He didn't plan on wasting it. The fire in his feet once again relit as he yelled out to the bottom. Todoroki and Mina looked up in shock as they saw Izuku behind them, very high in the air as they saw him lighting fire on his feet, similar to their own father. Even Endeavor took notice. Seemingly shocked, Izuku had copied his own method of flying in the air. I told you I would beat you with all I have, and I don't go back on promises. Suddenly, in a burst of speed, he flew past Todoroki and Mina, momentarily rolling on the ground but getting back up and sprinting as fast as he could. Shoto and Mina were completely flabbergasted as they watched Izuku, They tried to catch up with Todoroki, creating vines to slow Izuku down, and Mina using gust of wind to try and stop him. NGH? Izuku struggled against the forces of Todoroki and Mina. It was almost like Mother Nature herself was trying to stop Izuku from winning. This wouldn't deter him though. Not a chance in hell. He burned the vines at his feet and powered through the wind thanks to the power of the demon marking. Though this wasn't to say he wasn't slowed down from it. I won't lose. No way. He powered through it as Todoroki and Mina slowly made their way through the final stretch. The winner of the obstacle course, Theus. Izuku Midoriya. The crowd cheered as Izuku came out of the tunnel first, as Izuku panted, giving a somewhat tired grin. I win. Todoroki. One by one, people finished the race. Todoroki and Mina coming in second and third respectively, Momo in fourth, Bakugo in fifth, and Hitoshi sixth. Eventually, Uraraka and Ida made it by, congratulating Izuku on a well-earned first place. Well, Ida was too busy contemplating on his performance since he lost a race of all things with his own quirk. Good job, Midori. That was incredible. Izuku blushed lightly as he waved it off. First place though. I'm jealous. I mean, it's not like it was easy, which he was right, it wasn't easy. If he was blown back like Momo or Bakugo instead of upwards, he would have gotten at worst sixth place. The stars happened to just align for him. Now that it's finally over, let us check the results. First, Izuku Midoriya. Second, Shoto Todoroki. Third, Mina Todoroki. Fourth, Momo Yaoyorozu. Fifth, Bakugo Katsuki. Sixth, Hitsuhei Shinso. Seventh, Ibara Shiozaki. Eighth, Juzo Hananuki. Ninth, Tenya Ida. 10th, Fumikage Tokoyami. 11th, Hanada Siro. 12th, Ijiro Kirishima. 13th, Tetsu. 14th, Masahiro Ojiro. 15th, Yotetsu Owaze. 16th, Rikido Satu. 17th, Achiko Uraraka. 18th, Minoru Mineta. 19th, Koji Koda. 20th, Kyokujiro. Beyond the top 20, the rest was from Class A, B, or Support Department. The next event, I already know what it is, of course. Dying in suspense. Next up is, bam, the screen suddenly flashed the words, Cavalry Battle. Midnight started to explain what the Cavalry Battle was supposed to be. The Cavalry Battle will consist of 42 people. In this case, the people who got top 42 are still qualified for this event. You all will form teams of 2 to 4 for this event and earn points by grabbing enemy headbands. Bakugo side, we can't be by ourselves? That's disappointing. This confused Izuku by so much. Why would he want to fight by himself in a team battle activity? The number of points will be relevant to your placing in the obstacle course. We'll earn points like in the entrance exam? Sounds simple. Sato crossed his arms thinking that this would sort of be the entrance exam with different sprinkles on top of it to make it different. Kind of like putting different kind of sprinkles on a cupcake. So the point value of each team depends on its members. Mina exclaimed as right then Midnight yelled at them to be quiet as she explained that part. Anyways, yes, and your individual score values start at 5 at the bottom. So the student in 42nd place has 5 points. The student in 41st place has 10. Get it? Boo it. Izuku could already feel he was about to be hit by a curveball, and it would be one that would make him pretty much a target of everyone here. Our first place participant is worth 10 million, and there it is. Izuku could just feel everyone's eyes lock onto him as he stood in the center of everyone. Well, this is definitely something. You know, I felt something like this was coming, and I am not surprised. The higher ranked players are the ones to aim for. As you must have heard by now since enrolling at UA, this is Plus Ultra. After taking first place in the qualifiers, Izuku Midoriya has got 10 million points. Izuku fell silent as everyone stared at him with their big white hollow eyes. Stop it. EA6470A9BC5C4D04684173173EC6689C.jpg. Stop looking at me like that. He knew these were different stares. It wasn't like the ones he got before he made it into UA, though it caused his hearts to race as they reminded him of a time before. This isn't like all those times though. Even then, I can feel the pressure from it all. Midnight proceeded to go on about the Cavalry Battle. The match will last 15 minutes. Each team's points are determined by its members. She then showed an example of Endeavor riding on 13 and Mike, with little arrows explaining all their point values. The rider will wear the headband displaying the total number of points. Until the match ends, you'll all compete to grab each other's points and maintain the ones you have. The TV screen then showed the headbands explaining that they were fastened by Velcro, as to make it easier to grab. But the more headbands you've got, the harder they'll be to manage. Not to mention, even if your headband is taken, and even if your horse formation is broken, it's not over till it's over. Once the timer for team creating started, everyone already folkied over to Bakugo and Todoroki. Bakugo wasn't bothered all that much by Sato, Aoyama, and Shoji. He looked at Shiro though, smiling. "Your power is tape, right?" Shiro nodded. "Yeah, I can use my tape to create traps, wrap people up, and swing long distances." This caused Bakugo to grin, still keeping his hands in his pockets. "You seem like a pretty cool dude, Shiro. Welcome to the team." This caused Shiro to do a little yes motion with his hand as Bakugo pretty much ignored Sato and Aoyama. "Oi, Bakugo, Todoroki's team is already full. Mind if I tag along?" Bakugo turned his head and saw it was Kirishima, raising an eyebrow with a slight smile. "I know you want to be a rider, right? So your front horse has to be someone who can take those strong punches, right? Who might that be? Someone not afraid to die." He pointed at himself with a grin. "You want to take down Todoroki and Midoriya, right? This horse won't break. This guy, Kirishima." Bakugo gained a devilish grin with Shiro looking on in slight worry. "I would love someone like you to join the team." He took Kirishima's hand and gripped his tightly. However, Kirishima hardened his body as to not be crushed under the force of Bakugo's hand. "You definitely are one of the manliest mans I ever seen, Bakugo. You're not so bad yourself, shark teeth." However, Bakugo had one more unexpected teammate. "Room for one more?" He turned, seeing that it was Mina Todoroki. Letting go of Kirishima's hand as the former slightly gripped his own hand as Bakugo nearly crushed his wrist if it weren't for his quirk. "You not gonna team up with your brother or something?" She shrugged, giving a small huff from her nose. "We decided to separate this time. We aren't glued to each other, no." Bakugo scratched his head as he begged to differ. "You certainly seemed glued to him during that race." She scoffed and crossed her arms as she flicked his nose. "You should be grateful I want to join your team at all. I could have joined someone else." Bakugo rubbed his nose as he groaned. "You were pretty strong, so I guess I'll let you join my team." She silently raised an eyebrow as she continued to cross her arms. "Uff. Okay, you can gladly join my team. That better?" "Yes, it is." Meanwhile, with Izuku, things weren't going very well. He was somewhat panicking to himself. He was all alone. His classmates avoided him almost like the plague. He tried to ask Ojiro but was quickly declined. So they must be thinking, the best strategy isn't to hold onto my points until the very end, but to steal with before time's up? He put a hand on his head, sweating as he didn't know what to do. His hearts felt like they were beating at 100 miles per hour. He was strong, but this required multiple people to do, and even if he could do it alone, there's too many factors which could cost him. What to do, what to dash? Midori. He turned and it was Uraraka, keeping an optimistic look on her face. "How about we team up?" He felt his panic subside, his heart rate slowing down as he looked at her. Still unsure. "Are you sure? Everyone's most likely gonna be coming after us, and no. It'll be fine. We can win if we just run away." "I don't think it's that simple, Uraraka." He gave a nervous smile along with a tiny chuckle from just imagining how simple it would be. "That's fine. Who cares?" She then smiled, putting her hands to the side as it felt like Izuku's whole world shined at that exact moment. 85 ed 62 bf 83 fe 520 a 359 c4 8 a 5 d14 bb4 b9.jpg. Teaming up with a friend just seems right. Izuku softly smiled, blushing and laughing a bit. "Huh? What's so funny?" "Nothing dash. It's just, I can see why you're called Uraraka, Uraraka." She blushed as well as it fell into an awkward silence after that. Let's get back to getting team members." "Why, yeah, you're right. I see what you did there." Using her name as a compliment. "You sly doog. Be quiet and let me think." After the end of that romantically awkward moment the two shared, they tried to recruit Ida but were denied. "I understand why you need me, Midoriya. However, I want to prove I am also a worthy rival of yours. Like Bakugo and Todoroki." He walked off to Todoroki's team with Momo and Denki. Ida dash. Izuku wish it didn't already start, but because he's at the top, everyone views him as an enemy. There wasn't any time for loyalty and friends. They need help from unlikely places. Heya! Izuku turned as suddenly a pink-haired girl with goggles got a bit too close for comfort. Team up with me, Mr. First place. She lifted up her goggles as she introduced herself to him. Uraraka recognizing her as the girl who used her gadgets at the canyon part of the race. I'm Mei Hatsumi from the support course. I don't know you, but I could be useful for someone in your position. Izuku stared at her as he sweated a tad bit from seeing her words. Well, at least you don't mince your words. Joining with you means I'll inevitably be right in the spotlight. And then, inevitably, my super cute babies will be seeing the big industry shots. They'll have to notice me and my babies. Uraraka seemed very confused as she couldn't keep up with whatever Hatsumi was blabbing about. Hold on now. Babies? Industry? What are you? However, Hatsumi showed no interest in Uraraka, nor did she even spare a glance at her. But wait, this could also be advantageous of you. She showed a lot of different machines for Izuku to use which could benefit him. She even showed a jetpack which was modeled off of the Buster Hero Air. Is that right? By the way, my quirk is. Uraraka looked on with a slight frown. She didn't know why, but this girl getting along with Izuku so quickly made her feel annoyed. They seem to be fast friends. I assure you, this girl will change nothing between you and Midoriya. This is simply the benefit from each other. I guess you're right. Elizabeth. After recruiting Mei Hatsumi, they needed one more member and Izuku went off on his own to recruit the last member. Alright, 15 minutes are up, so let's start this, shall we? Meanwhile, up in the commentator's room, President Mike woke up Aizawa so they can commentate on the Cavalry battle. Once getting into horse formation, Izuku made sure to call out to his teammates as to hype themselves up. Uraraka, yep, Hasjum, he, Tokoyami, yeah, let's do this. Formed your teams? Made your plans? Too bad if you didn't. Here we go. The countdown to this brutal battle royal. The teams started to prepare themselves as the countdown slowly went down. 3, 2, 1, start. Suddenly the teams started to go after Midoriya immediately. Toru Hagakure's team and Tetsu's. Ha. You may but strong Midoriya, but it's 4 against 1. This is really a fight for the 10 million and everyone knows it. Izuku saw them immediately charge at him as he endlit his hand, swiping it to the right and creating a firewall to block off Tetsu and Toru. NGH. We have to get out of here, right? Izuku and the others tried to run, but suddenly they had gotten stuck as they looked at the ground to see that they were sinking. Crap dash. Looks like that firewall wasn't enough. He looked at the jetpack as he hit the button attached to it. Uraraka, Atsum, look away. They did as told as the team escaped from the mud-like liquid. Tetsu looked on in annoyance. It must that support girl? Jiro, got it. Jiro tried to use her earphone jacks to attack their flying target, but Dark Shadow smacked the earphones away. Gotcha. Well done, Dark Shadow. Make sure you can cover our blind spots. Wow, that's awesome. The defensive power we were lacking. But now we're covered at mid-range from every direction. Good going, Tokoyami. You're the one who chose me. Eventually, Uraraka announced their landing as they descended back to the ground. How do you like my babies? Cute, aren't they? That's how I made them. Uraraka made everyone weightless except herself, so all we're carrying is her, plus our clothes and equipment. Izuku smiled as he looked down at Hatsum. They're totally making us more mobile. Your babies are amazing, Hatsum, aren't they? Uraraka puckered her lips as she heard Izuku praise Hatsum and slightly mumbled to herself. Only 'cause I floated you. Toru had purposed they go after them for revenge, but they have noticed that her headband was completely gone. Just call me an opportunist. The blonde boy who declared war on Class 1A, otherwise known as Nito Monoma, spun the headband around his finger, but suddenly the headband on his finger flew off. What? Monoma looked in the direction to see where the headband went, his fury only growing when he saw who it was. You little... Thanks for the headband. We'll put it to good use. It was Bakugo using Snatch to take the headband from Monoma as he put it around his own neck. Monoma was completely infuriated. He had just been duped by Class 1A, and that brute of a boy no less. I seen your plan. You wanted to sit back in the background so you can see everything we can do right. Momo gritted his teeth just hearing this boy talk. He was supposed to be the mastermind planning the downfall of Class A, not be stopped by such a brute. Well, too bad. Not everyone shows their full hand too early. 2 minutes have barely passed and it's already a chaotic battlefield. Izuku and company were completely surrounded as he had to watch Bakugo and Momo go at it. With everyone scrambling for headbands. It's not just the 10 million that's there. Other high rankers are worth a shot as well. Someone from Class 1B tried to attack them, but Dark Shadow fended him off. They saw Shoji charging in at them in all his octopus glory. Shoji's alone. But this is a team cavalry battle? There wasn't time to question it. It wasn't a good idea to fight so many opponents at multiple angles. They had to go. Squish. Uraraka struggled as she had accidentally stepped on one of Mineta's purple balls. I'm stuck. Izuku looked around in confusion. How could this happen when Mineta was nowhere to be seen? That's Mineta's. But where is he? Suddenly, like some horror movie, Mineta peeked out from the tent-like structure Shoji had his multiple arms in. In here, Midoriya. Is that legal? Sure is. Unfortunately for Izuku and the rest, it was in fact legal. As if that wasn't enough, a tongue shot out of the tent. Izuku thankfully dodged under it. Tetsu also dodged it by the skin of his teeth. Whoa? What the hell? Good job dodging, Midoriya. Tsu was also apparently hiding in the multi-arm tent with Mineta. Seriously, how many people can fit in there? Azui too. How many you got in there, Shoji? My name is Tsu. Team Mineta uses its members' varying sizes to form less of a horse and more of a tank. They proceeded to propel themselves using Hatsume's boots. However, they broke from being stuck on Mineta's ball. My baby got ripped apart. Sorry. But we managed to get away. However, as he said that, Todoroki flew up to him. You seem pretty full of yourself. Let me change that. Chastiful suddenly transformed into a giant bear, trying to grab Izuku's headband. However, Tokoyami blocked the bear but was being overpowered. Geez, what's this thing made of? Dark Shadow struggled to hold it back as Izuku charged fire in his hand and shot at it. Get back! T-Sage dash. It burnt the bear as Todoroki scoffed, having also been a tiny bit burned as he flew back to his team. Is that even allowed? It is here. As long as he doesn't touch the ground. Looks like Class B was trying to play the long game by throwing the preliminaries. Though that doesn't matter all that much. If anything, that means they don't target me. Izuku had already suspected they looked stronger than they wanted them to think. Guys, I don't think it'll be too hard to evade dash. Before he could continue, he encountered Team Todoroki as Todoroki stared him down. Or maybe it won't be that easy. We're coming for you, Midoriya. Team Midoriya and Team Todoroki stared each other down as Tokoyami bought out Dark Shadow. Looks like we're gonna have to fight our way out of this. They really are gunning for you, Midoriya. Todoroki looked past and could see that now Team Mineta was getting desperate and going after either him or Midoriya. Izuku gritted his teeth. We're halfway through, so we've got to keep moving. But he trailed off as he looked around, seeing that multiple teams coming after them as well. Forward, Ida. Okay, Yaoyorozu. Lock them in so nobody else can get to us. Right, there are multiple teams attacking us. Kaminari do dash. Yeah, I got it. Just stay alert. Shoto created the big bear plush from his chastifol, hugging them in a matter as a way to protect them from the electricity. Indiscriminate shock, 1.3 million volts. Dark Shadow blocked the attack, but there was a heavy downside and a cost to it. Just as that happened, Todoroki put both his hands near the ground as vines grew from it and encased almost everyone, entrapping them. What's this now? Todoroki's taken out a herd of cavalry teams in one fierce attack. Yaoyorozu. Now, all right, she roared as she stepped on the ground and basically created a tiny stadium inside of the stadium. Wow, Yaoyorozu created a stadium inside a stadium. Stadiumception. It seems that he waited for Kaminari to shock them and then created his vines as the last time he did it raw. Lots of people made it past. Nice play-by-play Shota. Izuku tried to fly away by the jetpack wasn't working as he looked in horror. This was the worst time for it to stop working? The pack's on the fritz? My baby. Guess there are needs for improvement then. Uraraka was also panicking with everyone else. They're too strong. We'll never get away. I'll create a diversion. As Tokoyami went on the attack with Dark Shadow to throw them off, Todoroki called out to Momo. Yaoyorozu, got it. She created a rock for Dark Shadow to hit instead as it smashed the rock but was forced to retreat. Tokoyami gritted his teeth in annoyance, Momo giving a confident smirk. Izuku was also clearly annoyed at this. Damn it, her quirk. What a pain. Tokoyami actually begged to differ. Kaminari is actually the bigger threat here, I'd say. His light-based attacks would have wrecked my armor. Izuku suddenly remembered when he was first recruiting Tokoyami to his team. Right, just focus on defending. There's no need to attack. Flashback. Interesting. The darker it is, the more ferocious my quirk attacks. But then the beast is hard to control. In the daylight, he's easier to manage, but not much help in a fight. He turned Midoriya with his arms crossed and smiling confidently. It's not like you knew, but picking me and my quirk for purely defense. Not a bad choice at all, I'd say. Present. Use me as best you can. I trust you, Midoriya, right? Kaminari's electricity. If he stays around, it'll be harder to keep up. Tokoyami's Dark Shadow was pretty much pathetic as he's slightly moped and just wanted to be friends than fight anyone. So you have less offensive power now. But they don't know that, right? Likely. I only ever told my weakness to Kukita back in the USJ. But he never talks much. Izuku put his game face back on as he put his focus back on the enemy team. As long as they don't know, we can fake them out. We'll be fine. Then the 10 million points stay with us. Meanwhile, outside the fight with Izuku and Todoroki, ugh? Momo was still getting his ass handed to him by Bakugo, who proceeded to punch him across the face again. Momo copied Bakugo's quirk as he tried to use Snatch as to weaken Bakugo to take his headband, but was denied as even with this. The gap between this didn't seem any smaller. So you can copy quirks, huh? But you can't exactly copy strength, can you? He quickly jabbed Momo and sent his head back as the boy groaned in pain. His other teammates watched in horror as he stood no chance. Momo, we have to get out of here. This guy's a monster. Come on. We were just having some fun. Shiro and Kirishima looked on in slight concern, looking at Mina. Should we stop them? He's completely beating the snot out of this guy. Mina, however, didn't seem to care all that much, actually cheering him on. Get him, Bakugo. Show him what happens for disrespecting our class. Eventually, another guy with a glue stick for a head appeared. It's you, Bondo. We can leave still? We need more points if we want to advance. Momo's team was in a dilemma where they had to win this fight and take their points, as aside from Team Midoriya, they had the second most points. Suddenly, Bondo puked out glue as disgusting as it was effectively in slowing Team Bakugo down. Damn it, Dash. I'm stuck. This stuff is hard as hell. This annoyed Bakugo as he scoffed, with Momo chuckling a bit at his annoyance. What's wrong? Nervous class scum. Momo's team and Bondo's charged at Bakugo as he cracked his neck and cracked his knuckles. Alright, you guys want these headbands so bad. He grinned, welcoming them with open arms. Then you'll have it off of me. Back with Izuku and Todoroki, they were in the same position as before. Izuku having protected the headband for 5 minutes. Meanwhile, Todoroki had made little to no progress against him. Midoriya has been able to evade Todoroki's attacks inside the small space for 5 whole minutes. When Todoroki's group got closer, all Izuku did was back up and not allow them to get any closer. Endeavor watched from spectators, watching Shoto be exploited for him not going all out and taking this seriously. Come on, Shoto. Take this seriously. Izuku sweated as he had to analyze the situation with him and Todoroki. He keeps his distance and stays to my left. He's sharp. That way, the most direct route to immobilize us with vines, but it would also hit Ida. I can't attack recklessly or it'll be my downfall. He eyed Kaminari as he continued to assess the situation further. Tokoyami is blocking Kaminari's electricity. Everyone, in the minute or so that remains, I am going to do something that will render me useless, then it's up to you guys. Ida, be sure to grab it. Izuku didn't know what they were planning, but he knew he had to be prepared. He took a deep breath, preparing to activate his demon mark, and Recipro burst. In a sudden shock of speed, they blitzed past Team Midoriya. WHWHAA? What just happened now? That was too fast for the naked eye to see. Todoroki, did you grab the headband? Todoroki? I missed. The team turned around to look at Team Midoriya as Izuku nearly stumbled and breathed heavily. when looking back at them, but Midoriya was able to dodge the assault and maintain his headband. If it weren't for my demon mark, I wouldn't have been prepared enough for that. We would have lost the headband for sure. He turned back as he could see the fury and shock on Todoroki's face. I really see that you meant what you said, Ida. He gained a grin, the demon marking emitting an eerie dark glow as his eyes almost looked like they had visible fire in their eyes. You were challenging me. Todoroki flew up as he readied Chastiful back in its original form as he charged at Izuku. Todoroki? His teammates called out as he charged at the green-haired boy. Meanwhile, with Bakugo and his team, he was currently dealing with both Monoma and Bondo at the same time effortlessly. You class as scum. You think you're so much better than us, don't you? Oh, I never said anything about that. Suddenly, Monoma's body gave out as he gritted his teeth. Damn it. It must be the effects of his quirk or something that I didn't know about. Let's go. We have to defend these points with our life if we want to have a chance. Suddenly, they started running as Kirishima eventually was unstuck from the glue, running away from Bondo's team. Man, Bakugo, I can't believe you managed to effortlessly deal with them by yourself. However, Bakugo wasn't satisfied. Chase them down. Ha! All three of them were confused as they questioned him. However, they started after them anyways. But why? There's no need to risk our points if we're already basically guaranteed second. This isn't about that moron. He bonked Kirishima in the head lightly. I'm doing this because he disrespect our class, trying to make us seem like the bad guy. Call this petty or whatever, I don't care, but he grinned as he got up straight and got ready for something. Nobody's gonna insult my class. And gets away with it. Suddenly, he jumped from his cavalry, cocking his fist back. Monoma looked up in shock, calling out his teammate's name. Suburaba. Guard. Got it. He suddenly blew air at Bakugo's direction and created a sort of air wall. Bakugo landing right on it. How do you like that dash? It's an invisible wall. Bakugo sneered as he cocked his fist back. Well, you know what we say to walls, right? 0F02597A2065A78B730658A78B7C1A9F7555.jpg. We fucking break through M. He then yanked the last headband off of Monoma's head, jumping off of the air wall as it faded. Absolutely merciless. Bakugo just robbed Monoma's team of every last headband he possibly owned. Monoma could only look on in frustration as he yelled, "You brute!" However, it looked like that jump wouldn't be enough for Bakugo to make it back. Oh, seems like he didn't have enough momentum or preparation to make a good enough jump back to his team. If he hits the floor, he'll be disqualified. However, before that could happen, a sudden powerful gust of wind propelled Bakugo up as he flew high in the sky. What the dash? Though he suddenly realized as he looked back at his cavalry who were trying to position themselves to catch him. Whoa! A sudden gust of powerful wind has propelled Bakugo upward before he could hit the ground. He's back in it, folks. This caused Bakugo to laugh as he looked at his team with a grin, wrapping the headband on his neck. Haha, Mina, you bad bitch. Mina responded in frustration as he said this. I am helping you, so how about you don't insult me? That was a compliment. Can you two not have a back and forth right now? Zero held out his elbow as he wrapped his tape around Bakugo and safely brung him back to the team. Haha, at first I only got you guys, so I would just be able to qualify. But now that we've actually played through it, y'all are the best squad I could have possibly asked for. Kirishima almost teared up, hearing Bakugo say that. You're the best person I could have ever carried, bro. It's no problem, Bakugo. I'm still mad about what you called me. However, in the sky, they suddenly saw Todoroki's kunai as they saw who was being chased down by them. Midoriya? NGH. Fight fire with fire. He sent all the kunai flying towards Izuku all at once, the latter forcefully needing to pull back and flying away from the kunai as they chased him. Whoa, folks. Looks like we're gonna get a fight between Midoriya and Todoroki for the last minute. Right after we had that all-star performance by Bakugo. Midoriya, don't let him take the headband. Don't let him take it, Midori. Tokoyami and Uraraka screamed out at Izuku as this caused him to realize what exactly he was fighting for. Uraraka, Tokoyami, I have to become a hero, so I can make things before for mom and dad. That's right. I'm not just doing this for my own hopes and dreams. He flew in a circle as Todoroki followed him along with his kunai. I could be useful for someone in your position. They put their faith in me. I trust you, Midoriya. Todoroki eventually took the headband, struggling to wrap it around as he snapped his fingers again, changing Chastifol's form again. He took the headband, folks. I am fighting for the dreams of my teammates. 10. He reached out for Todoroki with Oink's flames burning in his hand. Hiya. 9. Todoroki turned his Chastifol back to its original form as he also held his hand out, determined to win this himself. 8. Hiya. Suddenly Todoroki started to glow and gain a yellow aura as his Chastifol also started to glow. 7. Wa-dash. 6. When Todoroki noticed his aura, he suppressed it and didn't let it go on further. 5. No? I can't use that. 4. Todoroki, watch out. 3. He then noticed Izuku, who was still charging at him as full speed. 2. I'll advance for them. For their dreams. 1. Izuku snatched 2 headbands from Todoroki's head as he looked back at the boy. I won't lose to you for that reason. Times you up. Izuku and Shoto panted as they slowly descended downwards, taking deep breaths. Now let's rank the top 4 teams. Team Todoroki. In first place, Todoroki held up the other headband on his neck. It was the only one Izuku hadn't been able to grab. Izuku's heart shattered as he damned the world, his team coming to comfort him. In second place, Team Bakugo. With an all-star performance of their own, Bakugo wrapped his arms around all 3 of his teammates, grinning happily. For what we were working with, we completely destroyed. They all smiled. Even Mina rolled her eyes and slightly smiled at him. It looked like he cared about this class after all, at least if you take it into context of fighting, but it was definitely a start. In third place, Tets WH. It's actually Team Shinso in third place. Thanks for your help. He smirked as Ojiro, Aoyama, and Nairenjiki looked at him with a nervous look in their eyes. In fourth place, Team Izuku Midoriya. Izuku looked up in shock along with his other teammates as they were completely surprised. Wa-dash. How? Izuku took a look at the headbands he had grabbed as it was a 685 headband. These 4 teams will advance to the final event. Izuku hugged his teammates in pure tears of joy and happiness. Uraraka hugging back, Tokoyami being surprised at the sudden display of affection, and Hatsum just trying to fix the jetpack. Todoroki looked at his hand, clenching it in fury at himself. No, I can't do that. It's just what my old man expected. Izuku made his way towards a private place in the stadium walls, feeling a bit perplexed and confused. Todoroki had called him here for some kind of private conversation. Whatever it was, he had to be there for it, which is why he even accepted it at all. He eventually made it to the spot he was supposed to meet Shoto, finding him waiting there for him. About time, Midoriya. Meanwhile, 2 top heroes met. Number 1 Endeavor and number 2 Genist. Despite being the top 2 heroes in Japan, they never really talked that often, so it was an awkward situation for the both of them. It's been a while, Endeavor. Almost a whole decade. With Endeavor looking at him sternly. You're right. So, why are you here to talk again? Genist seemingly smiled, but it was hard to tell cause how clothing that covered his mouth. Simple, I want to shout you out. This was earned an annoyed sigh by the number 1 hero. What for? I'm number 1, so I don't think I'll need it anyways, which was given praise by Genist right after, but it wasn't exactly about him. Your kids, Todoroki, Shoto, and Mina. They're both incredibly impressive, especially Shoto, even without going full power. He put up quite the show. Endeavor then looked at him. What's your point? Any advice to raise the next generation so we can see potential like your kids? Endeavor simply went quiet and got up to walk out of the room. I don't know, Genist. I don't know. He closed the door, having left the room in a suspicious manner, leaving Genist somewhat perplexed at this reaction. Back with Shoto and Midoriya. I'm going to make you pay for what you did, Midoriya. I am sorry, but what exactly did I do again? This is not what he had expected this conversation to start off with. Though to be fair, what did he expect after all? It probably had to do with him beating Todoro. You were trying to make me use my full power, weren't you, Midoriya? This earned a confused look from the boy. Has he not been giving it all from the start? This actually set Izuku off a bit, but he wanted to see what else Todoroki had to say, which was his main motivation to stay calm. Have you heard of quirk marriages? Midoriya was kind of shocked, as he blinked a bit before continuing. Quirk marriages are when people marry not out of love but out of creating a strong person through a combination of their quirks. Am I correct? He nodded, hugging his pillow form of chasteful. He wanted me to be something that surpasses a certain man. He never specified who it was, but he only said he was a man of the sun. This earned a calm expression from Midoriya as he deeply inhaled and exhaled. He wanted me and Mina to surpass that man, and that is all he thought about. I was born just as a tool for human garbage. He put a hand on his scar, repeating something from his own mother. As I remember it, my mom was always crying. He took a deep inhale, gaining the mental image of his mother sobbing while on the phone. I can't stand to see that left side of yours. That's what she said before throwing scalding water on my face. Izuku was completely shocked. So that's how he got the scar on his face? From his own mother. Even then, I cut off Mina's ear when he was forcing up to train. I healed it back, but we've never been the same. He clenched his fist as he glared at Izuku, which is why I don't want to use my full power. Then that'll deny him of everything he's worked me for. He started to walk off, hands in his pockets. No, I need to beat you. I don't need to use my full power to win as if I win without it. I'll spite my father. Izuku took a deep inhale as he looked at him. Despite both of us aiming for the top, we're really different. Todoroki stopped and listened, not looking at him, but still listening. Despite how strong I am, I haven't done everything by my own. I had you and a bunch of other people's help to make it so far and do so well. He remembered gaining access to his demon powers and getting help from Meliodas, his mom, Uraraka, Bakugo, Momo, Shinso, Tsu, Tokoyami, and Todoroki himself. I want to be my own hero. I want to be someone who can save people with a smile and make them feel safe. He looked up at him, a look of determination in his eyes. I fight for the people who've helped me and made me get this strong. So that's why I want to beat you. After that was said and done, Todoroki turned away and walked off. I'll show you then. However, they weren't alone. Bakugo was actually listening in. He started to see Todoroki and Mina in a whole different light now. The break was over. All the male students of Class 1A walked out as their break was over. However, this got everyone else confused. Where are all the girls? Bakugo said, completely confused as his eyes darted around. Bakubro is right. Where is everyone? As Kirishima said that, suddenly they received their answer as all the girls walked out in cheerleader outfits. This was met by a thumbs up from Mineta and Denki. Mineta, you bastard, said Yamamo, who was completely angry. Uraraka covered herself, blushing heavily. This is so embarrassing. We should never have listened to them. She looked up, completely embarrassed, seeing Midoriya, who was staring at her, his mouth open. Midoriya-kun. As she said this, she was cut off by Izuku's face, visibly heating up as he looked at her completely flabbergasted. Aya, don't look, she said comedically, hitting him with the pom-poms, with Izuku not moving, completely being frozen. Shoto looked at Yamamo, feeling sorry for her. I would supply you with clothes, but unfortunately I don't have anything. If it makes you feel better, I think you look fine in that. This earned a slightly shocked reaction from Momo as she lightly blushed from the compliment. Well, I appreciate the compliment, Todoroki, which received a light smile from the boy. It's quite all right. Bakugo looked down at Mina, snickering a bit, finding it quite comical that the girl was tricked into doing something like this. Don't look at me. She then shot at him with a giant blast of wind. Jesus Christ. Denki looked at Jiro, trying to look away. What you looking at? Jiro said aggressively and embarrassed. Denki looked away, embarrassed and terrified. And nothing. After a little more scampering, Midnight finally got everyone's attention. Now it's time for the final event of the sports festival, the battle tournament. Midnight proceeded to commence the drawing to determine who would fight who in the tournament. All right, let's see who's fighting who. She drew the pairings as soon it appeared on screen as the matchings were all on screen. Izuku Midoriya versus Hitoshi Shinso. Shoto Todoroki versus Hantashiro. Denki versus Nirenjiki. Tenya Ida versus Mei Hatsum. Yuga Aoyama versus Mina Ashido. Fumikage Tokoyami versus Momo Yaoyorozu. Ejiro Kirishima versus Ojiro Mashireo. Katsuki Bakugo versus Achiko Uraraka. Izuku looked towards the screen. It was seemingly Izuku going up against Shinso. He turned to him. He never actually saw his powers now that he thought about it. In a sense, Izuku was pretty much diving into a fight head first without any idea on what his opponent could possibly do. Poor Shiro, though, he had quickly came to the conclusion that he was simply going to get destroyed. Todoroki was simply way too strong in every possible way compared to him. Bakugo sort of looked at Uraraka. HM? So I'm fighting you this round, huh? This should be interesting. He grinned at her almost like a wild animal ready to feast on its prey. This made poor Uraraka quake in her boots. She was in the same position as Shiro, fighting one of the top students in the class who has shown monstrous strength and such on levels of Momo and Izuku themselves. However, before the battles actually started, a few students dropped out of the tournament, such as Ojiro and Nirenjiki, which confused and shocked lots of their classmates. They then explained their reason as Nirenjiki spoke up for himself first. I didn't exactly get to choose who I got to team with, plus I felt almost forced to be a part of their team as they exploited my nightmares just to do so. I don't feel as if I should move on. Ojiro nodded in agreement. It felt so real. I acted irrationally but made it by anyways. I shouldn't have made it, which is why I would also like to drop out. Midnight looked at them and nodded. All right. If you two are entirely sure, I will gladly let you drop out. Which means, she looked over at Tetsu and Ibara. You two get to join in the place of our two missing opponents. Which, as much as it shocked the two, Tetsu in particular was thrilled. Woo, yes. The green-haired boy looked on somewhat saddened. He never exactly known Ojiro, but he felt bad regardless, but he suddenly felt the weight of his hand on his shoulder. Midoriya, watch out for Hitoshi. I don't know how he does it, but he can access your worst nightmares and fears. I don't know to what extent though, so you need to be careful. He turned to the tailman as he nodded. All right, thanks for the advice. He nodded back. No problem. I just wouldn't want you to lose yourself like I did. He walked off as the first match was going to get underway. For this match, we have Izuku Midoriya versus Hitoshi Shinso. Present mic announced, as both Izuku and Shinso walk up to the ring slowly. The two stood their ground, looking eye-to-eye, silence filling the air. Ready? Clash! As soon as those words were said, Hitoshi took his hands out as two bows formed from it. Double bow Harrot. Izuku looked on in shock. That's Gauther's sacred treasure, Midoriya. Don't let him hit you with an arrow. He then proceeded to charge up an attack. Rewrite light. Suddenly beams of light appeared from his chest. Oh crap dash. Izuku jumped up. However, he didn't expect the arrows to track him as he was hit by an arrow, as suddenly he felt drowsy as he landed on his back of the ring. He was transported somewhere from long ago. Invasion. Wah! Where am I? I looked around frantically. It looks like I'm in an underpass of sorts. Where am I? But then I noticed, I'm back in my middle school uniform. I kinda missed wearing my old uniform. It made me feel a bit nostalgic. That aside, I looked around the area to try to find anything that was off. This is like a trip down memory lane. Everything was so quiet. All I could hear was the sounds of birds chirping as I walked along. Meliodas? Got an idea on how this ability works or anything? Meliodas. He didn't respond. It seemed like I was gonna have to be on my own for this one. I kept following the underpass and it felt like it was never ending. It felt like so long and I still didn't seem to make any progress. Seriously, what is this? Suddenly I heard a sound of clanging from the manhole as I turned around and simply got into a fighting stance. Is this some sort of thing where I gotta fight my way out of here? Well, bring it on. As I said this, a wave of sludge spewed out the manhole, almost like a polluted sea as I was swept in its wake. Ugh dash! I clawed my way out of the sludge as I gasped for air, trying to catch my breath. What was going on? This isn't how it went. Not this much sludge emerged from that villain. You'll never become a hero. Screams of the damned started to echo out to me. I felt like a lost man at sea, simply forced to let nature have its way with me and hope I survive. Sludge villain, come out here and face me. I'm ready for dash. The villain suddenly emerged from the sludge, but it was some freakish nightmare version of him. One of his eyes had melted. You could see parts of a skeleton being merged within the sludge as the sludge had a scent of chard to it. You're a murderer. My eyes widened as I started to remember. I had burned this villain to death in an act of self-defense. The screams only got louder as he grabbed onto me. Is this what you wanted when you said you wanted people to smile? It then smiled as both its eyes fully melted into the sludge as it opened its mouth wide to swallow me whole. No! Stop, get away. Get away. Get away, Array. Invasion end. Shinso was watching. Midoriya on the outside was clawing at his hair. As he walked slowly, he explained, "This is my ability invasion. Or this version would be called Nightmare Teller. I can remind someone of a past traumatic event in their life and retell it to them in a horrific manner." He walked up, getting in a stance for a punch until it was caught. He was still looking down as he just mumbled, "I didn't mean it." He looked up at Shinso. The demon marking fully emerged on his face as he stared at him with a cold expression. This shocked Shinso. He tried to back his fist up, but Izuku had a firm grip on it. It was agonizing as he tried to back up. It felt as if his arm would snap off. However, a part of him couldn't help but interest him. Nobody had ever reacted this way to his invasion before. It always would end the same. People cry and scream, hate him for making them live through it and call him a villain. This was different from that. Thankfully, the purple-haired boy kicked Izuku's hand away with his leg, actually damaging the boy a bit. Backing up to gain a good amount of distance. He resummoned his sacred treasure as he charged up for another dose of rewrite light. "Handle this." The boy stared at the beams of light, a quiet but very present enraged look on his face. His hand catching fire like swiping a match on wood. He grit his teeth as he swiped away the beams of light with an incredible show of force as the people even in the stands could feel the intense heat from it. Geez. His fire sure is blazing. Bakugo picked at his collar, slowly lifting his shirt as to spars him from this heat. Though he was consequently smacked by Mina and called a pervert. Shinso groaned as he nearly was sent out the ring, shaking off the fire from his clothes as he stood straight and looked at Izuku. It must feel real good having a good and flashy quirk, doesn't it? Good quirk. His demon marking faded as he no longer needed it at the moment. Flashback. Ever since Shinso had figured out his quirk, his class was afraid of him. Terribly so. They would keep their distance and not even notice him. He tried to make friends, but they'd all usually run from him. However, he kept himself busy somehow, usually by studying the human anatomy. He was interested by the human mind and how it worked, human emotions, and many things of the sort. He never was accepted, usually called a villain cause his quirk, as the one thing on his mind would usually be, "Can I be a hero?" Flashback end. Midoriya understood, sighing as he looked at Shinso, still keeping a fighting stance just so he doesn't get caught again. "Well, I think your quirk is pretty useful." He smiled. It was a genuine happy and understanding one. Shinso didn't understand. He had just completely screwed with his head and mind with his own memories in an exaggerated manner, and he was fine with it. His thoughts were cut off by a right hook, sending him back. It doesn't matter what type of quirk it is. He tried to recover, gasping for breath as he received a left hook from Midoriya, as now he was the one who was caught off guard and unprepared. "What matters is what you make of it." He went for a stomach blow, but Shinso had caught it. But he was being driven back to the edge as he punched Izuku in the face. "Let go of me." He was flustered. He was bewildered. He completely didn't understand why he was acting this way. Izuku put another hand on his shoulder, still forcing him to the edge as he yelled at him, reeling his fist back. "As long as you can become a hero with it, how can people call it a villain's quirk?" His fist lit on fire, punching Shinso right in the stomach and sending him out of bounds and off the ring. Izuku Midoriya has won. After the match between Izuku and Hitoshi, the next match was between Shiro and Shoto Todoroki. While walking to the ring, he encountered his father, #1 Hero Endeavor. "Shoto, I'm disappointed in you for your rebellious behavior. You nearly harmed many students. You can't have that on your resume if you want to surpass me and him." This got a frustrated reaction from the dual-haired boy. "I know, damn it. I said I'm sorry so many times, can't you see that? Plus, if I already surpassed you, then what? You keep saying him, as if you don't even know how strong he is." He turned away, scoffing, "It doesn't matter. Everyone here is beneath my power anyways." "Then what about people that aren't from here?" This caused him to take a moment to pause on his rant. "Not to mention, what about that Midoriya boy? He was faster than you and won. What happens if you fight him?" He proceeded to walk away. Annoyed, it'll just end the same anyways. At the tournament arena. Now at the left, we have Mr. Tape Man, Hantashiro. And on the right, we have son of the #1 hero himself, Shoto Todoroki. The crowd cheered as Shiro stretched. Todoroki stood there, silently, which somewhat threw the tape user off. Ready? Clash. Shiro immediately started by shooting tape at Todoroki, hoping to immobilize him as he dragged him across the ring. Shoto still not reacting as he simply let himself get grabbed. Meanwhile, in the stands, Class A stood in confusion. Specifically Midoriya, he knows Todoroki could have easily just avoided that, but he just let it happen? He struggled to wrap his head around it. Uraraka was also in a tad bit confusion. Huh? Why did Todoroki-kun not dodge? The tape couldn't have been that fast. Mina watched, somewhat sweating. It's probably because he isn't in the right mindset. Usually when this type of thing happens, he usually goes quiet and then unleashes a sudden burst of energy. They focus back on Todoroki, who finally showed his face. Mina was right. He was completely infuriated as he just mumbled, "Sorry about this." Suddenly from Todoroki's feet, vines grew seemingly instantly as they not only completely surrounded Shiro, but also the stands. He had grew a complete forest worth of vines that were all somewhat spiky. Midnight flew over to Shiro. "Can you still fight, Shiro?" He was completely paralyzed from pain of the vines stabbing into him a little and how he couldn't navigate or get out of the seemingly endless amount of it, and he shook with each line of speech as Midnight raised her hand. Hantashiro has been immobilized. Therefore, Shoto Todoroki is the winner. The audience cheered from the sheer display of power at hand. Shoto called the vines away and Shiro is sent to Recovery Girl to heal his injuries. The third match then goes on to be Denki Kaminari versus Ibara Shiozaki. The match would seem to be a pretty quick one. Denki, while being a decently strong opponent with a good quirk, Ibara's vine-type quirk had him beat and he knew it. The match had started. Ibara started off by sending many vines after him. Denki, like the dummy he is, runs away comedically from the vines. He knew the only way to win against her would be to get close, but it was practically impossible, and he was beaten due to him betting it all on a 1,000,000-volt shock and it completely backfiring. This got a kick out of Momo, who immediately started bragging about Class B winning a match against Class A, despite them being supposedly better than them. This was cut short due to Kendo knocking him out. Izuku was just analyzing the entire fight. It's unfortunate. If it was anyone else, Kaminari most likely would have won. He sighed, feeling pity for the electric quirk user. Uraraka smiled at this. "Geez, ever since I first met you, you've done nothing but show me how incredible you are, Izuku-kun." This caused Izuku to look at her, somewhat red. Really? Most people just call my mumbling and stuff weird." Before she could really reply, she got up. "Something came up. I'll be back, Izuku-kun." After she left, the fourth match was already underway. Tenya Ida versus Mei Hatsumi, which was a longer match, but not exactly the way people would think. This was certainly a match as Mei, instead of fighting, was simply using Ida to advertise her babies and such, which it was quite a long match due to Ida not being able to fight at his best because all the machinery that surrounded him. Eventually, once all was said and done, she forfeited and Ida moved on, much to his dismay, as he didn't want to win like this. He was also mad because he was used as a way of advertising instead as an actual person. Now the fifth match is going underway, Momo Yaoyorozu versus Tokoyami Fumikichi. The first round was coming to an end. There are only 3 matches left. Those matches being Momo versus Tokoyami, Mina versus Aoyama, Kirishima versus Tetsu. Last but not least, Uraraka versus Bakugo. Speaking of Momo versus Tokoyami, the match was going to get underway. It started with Yamamoto and Tokoyami walking up to the arena as they stared each other down, with Momo giving a bow of respect. "I hope we can have a good fight, Tokoyami." He responded in his own slight bow to not be disrespectful towards her. "So do me and Dark Shadow." Present Mike then explained, "Alright, we have the spirit of the earth Momo Yaoyorozu fighting against the Lord of Shadows Tokoyami," which Aizawa looked at him in seemingly annoyance. It was hard for Mike to tell he was a literal mummy. "There's no need to be so dramatic. Not like this is the finals or something," he said, closing his eyes as Mike sighed. "Okay, fine, eraser. Ahem. Ready? Clash." Tokoyami immediately summoned Dark Shadow, getting onto the attack. Momo proceeded to swing at Dark Shadow, as to the surprise of both Tokoyami and Dark Shadow surprisingly overpowered the Shadow Bird, driving him back. WO dash. She was driving him back as he forcefully pushed him away towards Tokoyami. I don't think you understand. Dash. You're not the one with the power here. She started to rapidly attack Dark Shadow with a flurry of punches. Tokoyami realized he had to think outside the box. Dark Shadow, kick up the floor. As he said that, Dark Shadow used one of its arms to punch the ground and kick up dust, blinding Momo. Eek dash. My eyes. Which was an innocent response right after the assault she had just started. Tokoyami summoned Dark Shadow as he tried to get an attack off on her, which he did with mild success, as she didn't have time to use the rocks as she couldn't even see him. While it was a dirty move, it was very effective seemingly, as he once again tried to get another attack. Unfortunately for him, she gained back her vision and retaliated. When the dust cleared, Tokoyami was once again on the back foot, holding his side as he had been struck, and it hit like a rock. Pun intended, as Momo smiled. Give up, Tokoyami. You unfortunately won't be able to beat me. My training has made me come a long way. He groaned. I'm sorry, but I cannot give up. He attacked again with Dark Shadow. This time, however, the banging of metal could be heard. Shadow retreated back next to him. OWWWW dash. That hurt. His fist was comedically red as he was hurt. How do you like my new technique? She said as her arm was now full on metal, as she then proceeded to say, heavy metal. Her skin proceeded to turn into metal as she smiled. Just try and hurt me now. Meanwhile, on the stands, Class A looked in shock along with the crowd. Wow, Yamamoto became metal dash, just like Kirishima becoming a rock, said Mina. Izuku was simply taking mental notes. Her strength and defensive capabilities and must have skyrocketed. On the Class B side of the spectrum, Itsuka Kendo looked amazed. Wow, she's just like you, Tetsu. As she said this, Tetsu only looked on, somewhat annoyed. She's stealing my ability, damn it. Which only got a sigh from the orange-haired girl. You're hopeless. Back onto the fight, Tokoyami couldn't hope to even match anymore, as even the strategy of blinding her didn't work, as moving and or hurting her was practically impossible, as most attempts would only result in Dark Shadow getting hurt. She dashed at him. He tried to send Dark Shadow at her, only for her to duck and knee him right in the stomach. Blah dash. He spat out blood as he was kneed out of the ring. Yamamoto winning the match as she leaped out of bounds to help him up. Returning back to normal. I'm sorry dash. Was that too much? She put his hand over his shoulder as he breathed. Why yes. A little excessive. She gave him over to the recovery robots, while apologizing profusely, somewhat comedically tearing up. I'm sorry, I went too far like I do usually dash. She was forgiven, thankfully. The next match was Mina Todoroki versus Yuga Aoyama. We have the Wind Princess Mina Todoroki fighting the flashiest student Yuga Aoyama. It made Mina somewhat happy as she smiled at the nickname Wind Princess. I should that as my hero name soon dash, which received a smile from present Mike. Ready. Clash. Yuga started to shoot lasers, trying to stay at long range. Mina simply held her hands out, flicking a finger as a gust of wind hit Yuga right in the stomach, comedically knocking him out of the ring, giving him one of the worst stomach aches, having hit him right in the stomach. Mina looked somewhat in disappointment as she sighed. That didn't last as long as I wanted it to. The second to last fight of round 1 is currently going underway. Kirishima and Tetsu clash fist. Kirishima hits Tetsu with a gut punch. Tetsu does the same. Tetsu knees Kirishima's face. He retaliates with an uppercut, making Tetsu's head snap backward. While this even match is going on, Achiko Uraraka was in the waiting room. She was noticeably worried and somewhat stressed, as she had to fight the seemingly immortal and ash-blonde classmate of hers in the next round. Izuku knocked on the door to her room. Can I come in? She somewhat jumped but turned to the door. Oh, of course, Izuku. Come in. The green-haired boy opened the door as he walked towards her. The 5th match went by in a flash. Even the 6th fight is coming to a near end. She nervously chuckled. Yeah, next match after that is me against Bakugo. The boy looked at her, feeling somewhat worried. However, at that same time, Ida walked in, trying to reassure her. I'm sure that he'll go easy on you since you're a girl. he said, doing his classic hand-chopping motion. Izuku looked at him. He isn't the type of person to hold back on someone based off gender or no. He turned back to Uraraka. However, I know how he fights. I could try and help you try to come up with a countermeasure for him, so dash. She waved him off. Thanks, Izuku-kun. Really, I appreciate it, but I want to prove my independence and show how good I am on my own. She raised her arm. This caused the boy's eyes to widen as he was mesmerized by her attitude. Okay, she got up, looking at them. Oh yeah, dash. Congratulations on your win against Hatsum, Ida. He nodded. Ah, thank you, Uraraka-kun. Izuku just looked at her, still worried. I'm still worried. Are you sure you don't want help? She looked at him, smiling. Nope, I've been relying on you guys so much. I want to prove my independence and how strong I am on my own. His eyes sparkled. He swore he could see actual light beaming off her face. All right, if you say so. She walked out to watch, with the two following. Izuku still couldn't get this nerve-wracking feeling out of the pit of his stomach. He felt as if he would barf, but he didn't understand why. It wasn't a fight to the death, so why did he feel so bothered? You're getting that feeling, aren't you? The feeling of worry despite knowing it'll all be fine. He answered back to him, yeah, I am. The blonde midget sighed. I felt that way when Elizabeth was by herself too. Combine that with your hero complex thing you have and yeah. No worries though, it'll all be okay. This reassured him as he gave a deep inhale. Thanks. The rest of the classes and audience watched in awe. The battle of Kirishima and Tetsu was coming to an end. Both were tired and bruised. They charged at each other, screaming, RHHH, Raha. They mashed their fist into each other's face as they both fell back, unable to continue. Midnight proceeded to wave her flag. Neither Kirishima or Tetsu can continue. This match is a draw. The crowd cheered. Both students were transferred to the recovery room to be healed by Recovery Girl. The next match was going to be Achiko Uraraka versus Bakugo Katsuki. Both of them got up with Bakugo walking away. Uraraka simply stopped and gave a thumbs up to Izuku. I'll see you in the finals, she said, shaking, trying to be optimistic despite her current situation. They both stood on opposite sides of the ring. Uraraka looked on, trying to look confident, but also was very worried. Bakugo looked at her serious, which wasn't like him. So, Uraraka, you sure you don't want to give up? I'm not gonna hold back, you know. She looked at him as she swallowed her fear and doubt. No, I'm not gonna give up. How can I ever think of being a hero if I give up when I gotten so far in the festival? This earned a grin from the ash blonde boy. Good. I like that attitude. In the stands sat the students. Tenya looked at Izuku, curious. So Midoriya, what was your plan for Uraraka to defeat Bakugo? Izuku looked at him, almost somewhat unsure. Katsuki is a fast and strong opponent. He outdoes Uraraka in every physical right. Really, the only way I could think of her winning as her getting the first hit in and making him float. However, with him being serious, it'll be very hard to do so. Ready, go. Uraraka immediately dashed at him. This put Bakugo in a stance to counterattack rather than dodge. Is what she thought, but she was far too slow as he dodged her futile attempt anyways, just whispering, too slow. He proceeded to punch her right in the stomach. She could definitely feel her lunch coming up from her stomach. Jokes aside, she clutched her stomach as he followed up with an uppercut as she did many back flips before landing on the ground. Down but not out as she got up. She coughed profusely as Bakugo stood the other side of the arena, still unmoving as he was in a battle stance, clearly focused on her and what she'll do next. Don't keep your eyes off her, brat. You gotta respect her by giving her all your attention and power to come on top, said the teal-haired man as Bakugo spoke to himself. Yeah, I know. What do you think I'm trying to do? He jumped up as he proceeded to slam his fist down, as just that single fist to the ground had created so much dust and debris. However, to Bakugo's shock, he had hit her sports attire as he looked confused. Damn it, dash. Where could she? She ran out from the smoke and into his vision. I'm right here. She held her hand out to touch him. He ducked under it and proceeded to grab her wrist, trying to not be touched. Clever, but I won't. He was cut off, having to try and guard himself from her other hand. Grabbing her wrist again and lifting her arms up. Be done like that. He started to spin her by the arms as he then threw her across the ring as she skidded on the floor. She groaned in pain as she skidded across the ground, kicking up stones. Thankfully, her shirt didn't go up, meaning her stomach didn't suffer any third-degree burns. She slowly got up again as she looked on, seeing only his silhouette and the glowing eyes of his from the smoke. 6590C262A85E6FX421AC2C6BA1458D.jpg. The crowd looked on in horror as they continuously saw Bakugo beat Uraraka in every hand-to-hand interaction they had, as he just told her continuously, "Give up. You're not gonna win this." She didn't listen and kept pushing herself, and even despite the genuine warnings Bakugo was giving, a man in the crowd clearly didn't care. He suddenly started booing Bakugo. Soon the entirety of the crowd joined in on the booing. "Stop hurting her, you villain. Yeah, leave her alone." This had the ash-blonde boy looking baffled and honestly somewhat hurt. He had been trying to get her to stop and give up, yet he was suddenly casted as a villain. He couldn't understand. He actually thought of giving up for a moment until, "Oi! Are you the pro-hero around here?" The crowd suddenly went silent, and still as did Bakugo and Uraraka. "If you are, then go home and hang up that damn cape of yours and look at different career paths." Bakugo is simply using his fierceness and strength to get to the top and win, while also going all out to respect his opponent and keep her at bay. The teacher of Class A hated to admit it, but seeing Bakugo's conflicted expression somewhat made him feel sympathy for him. He was simply misunderstood by the people for what he was and who he was as a human being. It wasn't his fault, but simply the people for not understanding what he is trying to show and prove to them. "Now, both of you can continue." Bakugo once again got into a battle stance, Uraraka doing the same as she charged. She was noticeably low to the ground as she was trying to now play defensive and make sure Bakugo's strikes hit the floor so she could get a clean attack. He hit the ground again as a method of pushing her away, which to his credit did work as he kicked up more debris. While Uraraka had good strategy, the power difference was simply too much to handle as the shockwave from the punch caused her to fly back. However, she landed on all fours like a cat as she got up. "So, had enough yet?" he said, still in a fighting stance as she got up panting. "Why ya? Thanks for keeping your eyes focused on me, by the way." In the stands, Class 1B's student Momo looked on as he had realized what her plan was. "I see. So her plan was to make him hit the ground so he could destroy the stage to build up debris so she could pelt him with leftovers." Floating above the stage, they all looked on, seeing the massive amount of rocks and debris coddled up in one area above the stage, to which Bakugo. This shocked everyone. "Whoa dash! With all that, she may be able to win this," Mina said, completely optimistic. This, however, was followed up by Izuku. "As much as I want to believe it, I think this match is already decided." Todoroki and Momo nodded as they looked on nervously. "Eh? What do you mean? Are you saying she won't win this?" This earned a gaze from Izuku as he said, "As much as I believe this will work, she's too heavily outclassed." Those were the last words before she yelled out the words, "Release!" The rocks started to fall almost like a meteor shower as Bakugo looked up unfazed as he cracked his knuckles. Didn't expect this. He then started to rapidly attack the rocks at beyond lightning speed as he broke the rocks at speeds that even a pro could possibly struggle to see. This, however, was a diversion as she ran at him. "I'm gonna win. Then I'll be just like Izuku." She believed this was it. It would finally be her time to win, until her body gave out. She suddenly felt as if her body was being drained as she fell to the floor. She was still conscious. She tried desperately to make no force her body to move. She only looked up completely dumbfounded as Bakugo had become more toned and muscular as he attacked the rocks even faster. "What? You thought I needed a hand motion to use snatch?" he yelled as he broke every single last rock until there was not a single stone left as he looked down at her and crouched. "It was a good strategy, I'll give you credit for that. It definitely would have worked on anyone else. Well, maybe besides Captain and a few others." He smiled. "I'm proud of ya for not giving up, no. I'm sure Captain is indefinitely proud as well." She smiled as she mumbled, "Thank you." She closed her eyes, fading into unconsciousness as the aura around him faded as he somewhat struggled to get up. Midnight flew over. She put a hand on Uraraka's back. "She's out cold. The winner of this round is Katsuki Bakugo." Bakugo left the ring as he walked to the corridor. He accidentally bumped into Izuku as they looked at each other. "Hey Midoriya, you getting ready for round 2? "Well, not exactly. I was gonna check on Uraraka after the match with you." The ash blonde walked up the stairs as he looked at him. raising an eyebrow out of curiosity. Hey, I just want to ask, did you make that plan up for her or anything? It was pretty good if I had to say so myself. Nope, I had nothing to do with it. She came up with that on her own. He paused as he blinked a bit and grinned, keeping his hands in his pockets. That girl really does have some bite to her. I better be careful or I may get caught lacking. He hummed as he made his way to the spectator stand. Izuku watched him on his way, proceeding to the waiting room that Uraraka was in. Izuku POV. I walked over to the door as I thought, I gotta find out if Achiko is alright. She seemed pretty down after losing that fight. I took a deep inhale as I knocked onto the door. She responded by opening as I could see the physical injuries on her. She was somewhat bandaged up as there were some patches on her face as she gave me a smile. Oh, Izuku-kun, come in. Sorry if I took long to answer. I walked in as she closed the door behind me. Oh no, it's all right. If you wanted to take your time, I don't mind. She walked over to the table as she sat down. I gestured to a chair by raising a brow. She waved it off as I proceeded to pull up a chair and sat down. I asked, are you okay after the fight with Bakugo? She tilted her head before she nodded. MHM, I'm fine. I didn't feel sure. Something felt off. She seemed so determined and it looked like she really tried her hardest to win that fight. I don't plan on losing ever again. I just gotta grow my strength and such and I'll be able to soon beat people with even you and Bakugo levels of strength. She kept smiling. Couldn't help but feel so off-put by it. She didn't seem too heartbroken about it, sure, but I don't know for sure. You're always so determined to face the next opponent even if they're stronger than the last. You barely show any fear. Do your wounds still hurt at all? I gently put my hand on the bandage located on her cheek. I didn't want to accidentally hurt her or anything like that. Huh? I am doing just fine. The pain's definitely gone away by now. She stammered as I gently took my hand away. That's a relief. Izuku Midoriya and Shoto Todoroki, please come to the arena for the second round. After hearing that, I got up and went to leave the room. Looks like I gotta get going. I got a match with Todoroki next. I'm really sorry for wasting your prep time, Midoriya-kun. I could hear her get up and apologize. It's no problem. I was the one who wanted to check up on you after all. She smiled as she gave a smile little wave. Good luck out there. I'm rooting for ya. Did my hearts just skip a beat? No, I can't focus on that. I need to get to my next match. Yeah. Thanks, Uraraka-san. I smiled back at her, leaving the room for good and going to my fight with Todoroki. Uraraka's POV. Silence. That was the best possible way to describe the room after Midoriya left. I took out my phone and started to call someone, hoping for an answer, and eventually, they picked up. Sorry for missing the call before. Dad, not at all. Me and your mother know you're busy. Heck, we even saw the fight on TV. You were amazing out there, honey. Great job out there. Despite what he told me, I didn't feel better at all. If anything, I felt worse than how I did before. It wasn't close, nor was it great. I was completely outclassed, Dad. That panic move I did at the end just sealed my fate. I had no chance of winning that. The strength gap between me and Bakugo was too great. It was like a coughing baby versus a hydrogen bomb. That right? I'm not an expert at all that technical stuff, but I'm sure one match doesn't mean you're done, right? Next year's always an option. I wish everything my dad was saying was something I could just ingrain and take to heart. If only it were that simple, I wouldn't feel so bad about this. This was way more complicated to where a next year felt more like a letdown more than comforting. It only really matters if you win though. Scouts are looking for people who can handle a bunch of different types. They'll see nothing about me if I just lose my single fight. What's the rush though? What kind of question was that? Shouldn't it be obvious why this was such a rush? Flashback. Hey, can I ask all of you a quick question? Bakugo was stuffing his face full of food, all while Midoriya and Ida ate like normal people. Why did you guys want to be heroes anyways? I'm just a bit curious. Bakugo slurped up his food as he gulped it all down like some animal, leaning back as he used his arms as a pillow. Well, I just mostly did it because it looked cool. I mean, why wouldn't beating up bad guys and helping others be cool? Bakugo was pretty casual about the whole thing, as per usual. I kinda wish I was as chill as him. I did it to follow in the footsteps of my brother. Ingenium. Whoa. You're Ingenium's brother. That's awesome. All three of us didn't even know that. That's amazing. After Ida explained more about how it was pretty much in their bloodline to continue the Ingenium and Tenya name, Izuku went up next. I wanted to be a hero because I dreamed about it since I was a kid. He smiled, looking at his fist as he looked back up at all of us. I wanted to be someone who will bring peace and make people smile. Being a hero is my way of doing that. He raised his fist with determination. What about you, Uraraka-san? He tilted his head as he looked at me with a smile. He always did have that look of being a patient and nice guy. Well, I did it to make money. I wanted to make money so I could help my parents. We aren't really the richest people in the world. It sounds a bit selfish now that I'm talking about it. I expected to be ridiculed or called selfish, but it was actually the opposite. There's nothing wrong with making money to help people, especially family. Yeah. No need to feel ashamed for helping out family members. Money is an important thing to live a stable and healthy lifestyle. There is nothing wrong with something as such as helping family. Present. I need to. No, I have to for you. And Mom, Achiko, you don't gotta go all crazy for us. He spoke so softly, it felt like he was there with me, rocking me back and forth on his lap like when I was a kid so he could make me feel better. Either way, I know my kind little Achiko is gonna be a great hero someday. I couldn't stop it. I wanted to seem strong and to hide these feelings of weakness, but I just couldn't. Felt so bad losing, especially something as possible big as being scouted and doing well for the sake of my parents. Izuku POV. Hick hick. I heard the sound of crying and they came from Uraraka's room from what it sounded like. I should have known? Of course she's broken up about it. Why wouldn't she be? I balled my hand into a fist as I gritted my teeth. I had all this power, but I couldn't help her or be any use to her at all like she has for me. Even through all that, she still rooted for me. This wasn't about just winning anymore. This was about proving to myself that I was worth putting her hopes on. Hello. All of a sudden, Endeavor himself just comes out from the corridor. Endeavor. WH, what the hell are you? He looked down at me, a look of desperation on his face. I saw what you did out there. It was incredible. You were able to manipulate a sort of substance and create purple flames along with supernatural physical abilities. He was praising me, but I couldn't help but be a little off-put. Todoroki seemed so spiteful of his father. I had no idea why, but that type of stuff doesn't happen without any reason. Flashback. Have you heard of quirk marriages? Quirk marriages dash? You mean when people marry not out of love, but to create multiple children to make new and stronger quirks? He wanted a child to be something that surpasses a certain man. He never specified who it was, but he only said he was a man of the sun. Present. I want someone to help him break out of his shell. He looked down at me with a hint of regret as he got down on one knee, looking me in the eyes. I need someone to help him to figure out that he has to give it his all if he wants to be a hero. So please, go all out on him if you must. I looked at him. This was the #1 hero currently assigning me a task to help him with his own family issues that had nothing to do with me. Listen, Endeavor. I understand you wanted Shoto to be stronger and surpass you. I deeply inhaled as I looked at him, trying to be serious and not show how nervous I actually was. It was the #1 hero after all. But he isn't like you. He doesn't want to just be seen as your son, someone who will surpass him and be the best. He wants to be viewed as a person with his own destiny and own choices. Though as hesitant as I was to admit it, I agreed that Todoroki can't think he can just half-ass his way through everything. A mindset like that is gonna get you killed in the real world. I made my way past Endeavor as I thought to myself, if anyone is gonna force Todoroki to go all out, it's gonna be me. Izuku walked out the hall slowly, as he looked in the other side where his opposer walked closer to the middle of the ring, as did he. They both stopped in the middle of the ring. They stood opposite of each other. The crowd in which was cheering for either of them was drowned out by the stare down. All Izuku and Todoroki could hear was ringing in their ear as they stood almost as if they were covered in blocks of ice, as they seemed almost completely unmoving. All right, folks, here comes the showdown of a lifetime. The two most impressive-looking students by far are going to go hand in hand in the ring. Place your bets on who'll win. The unexpected king of the sports festival so far, Izuku Midoriya. Or do you think the prince of the #1 hero, Shoto Todoroki? Don't gamble on the students fighting you, idiot. Aizawa responded to Mike, sighing in annoyance. It took so long until one spoke, but eventually Midoriya spoke first. Why are you still not using your full power? Todoroki's blank stare finally expressed some sort of emotion as he gave a scowl and a slight scoff. I don't need to use it. This wasn't the response Izuku wanted as he got into a stance. You're telling me, I gotta prove myself to be able to handle your best and then you'll get serious. Todoroki floated upward somewhat as Chastiful floated to his side. I wouldn't act so confident. Now! Are you ready? Now clash! Todoroki immediately attacked first as he whipped his fingers around in a series of quick motions as Chastiful flew past Izuku from the right. Then the left and above it seemingly got faster and faster. I call this move Bumblebee. 2264E9 6B12606C0070B62103.jpg. Suddenly, he jumped over and onto Chastiful. WH-. He held onto it almost in a comedic manner as Shoto scoffed as he suddenly changed the form into hundreds of kunai with Izuku being caught in the middle. Chastiful form 5. Increase. He crushed his palm as the daggers all homes in at him. This forced Izuku to activate his demon mark, MHA. His aura blew away the kunai as he turned it off, landing back on the ground with the kunai. Phew! Thankfully I had more power. Almost anyone else would have been toast. He looked at Shoto with a smile, right Todoroki? Which earned a scoff from the dual-haired boy. Don't get cocky. He raised his finger as his kunai flew back up as he spiked his fingers down the kunai following. Fight fire with fire. Izuku rolled out the way as he rolled to the left, shooting fireballs at the airborne Todoroki. He swerved to the left and then flew down, however this was enough for Izuku as he ran under him. Hiya! He jumped, grabbing his leg. What? Dash! He proceeded to slam Todoroki right onto the floor and concrete as he back-flipped away. Stop underestimating me, Todoroki. Get off of that high pedestal you hold yourself at, jackass. Todoroki got up as he was somewhat winded from being slammed into the ground. This provided an opportunity as Izuku dashed up towards him with his superiority in hand-to-hand combat as he started to press Todoroki with punches to the left and right of his face as almost like with the beat of the punches he said, stop. Holding. On. Me, and go all out. He ended his combo with a roundhouse kick to the side as he seemingly sent Todoroki out the ring. And with that 9-hit combo, Izuku has KO. Wait, what was that? Oh my god! As Mike slowed down in his sentence, he saw Todoroki slowly floating up as bruises were visible on his face. He clutched his side somewhat. Along with that, visible anger was seen through his face, which is when Todoroki realized Izuku really is getting into his head. You? Suddenly the kunai raised from the ground as they aimed towards Izuku's backside. I knew it. Ha! AGH. He turned as he was met with a barrage of kunai as he tried to blunt the damage as much as he could by blocking. Cuts and scrapes appeared all around his arms, legs, and rarely on his chest and face as his uniform was ripped and tattered from it. He panted heavily alongside Todoroki as he changed the form of Chastiful back to the spear. Why do you want me to go all out? What does it matter to you? He swiped up and down as Chastiful came crashing down, but Izuku jumped out the way as he picked up a piece of sharp rock. Chastiful came flying quickly as it was more ferocious as he slapped it off course with the stone. Why do you think? This earned an annoyed response. Let me guess, my old man put you up to this. This was also counteracted by another annoyed response. No. It's because you're insulting everyone by not doing so. Suddenly Izuku was hit by the blunt side of Chastiful as he was dragged across the ring. Fortunately, he was able to go under it, avoid being flung out as he got up, holding as he turned. He realized he nearly touched the edge as he took a deep inhale. Fine. If you don't go all out, then I will. The demonic power ignited as the aura was looking as if it would burn anyone in the vicinity. Todoroki looked on as he thought he could handle it, however. He couldn't have been more wrong. Suddenly, he disappeared from sight as Todoroki looked around frantically. Where did Dash? He could feel the gust of wind as Izuku hit the right side of Todoroki's face with the back of his fist. Dash. Todoroki spun out, flying back as Izuku caught up with him, grabbing him by the leg. Hiya! He threw him upward as Todoroki flew upward. He stopped himself as he gathered all the kunai together, thinking of attacking, But then Izuku put both his arms up as he was surrounded in a ball of fire. Take thy eyes. Hellfire flew from his hands as Todoroki looked on his shock as he was seemingly hit head-on by the attack. And Todoroki has been caught up in Midoriya's attack. Did he possibly go a little too far, though? Mike proclaimed as the audience whispered and wondered if he was alright, but Izuku knew better. No. He's still alive, thankfully. The smoke cleared as coughing was heard as Todoroki was shielded by a bear which was charred as he panted, thankfully. Guardian was here or else I would have definitely lost. He slowly floated down to the floor. Izuku backed up as despite the grin he held. He also was tired, he couldn't heal either or else that would take up more stamina, so he simply had to deal with his cuts. So Prince Shoto, gonna go all out on me now. As Todoroki scoffed, I'd rather die than give in to the old man's wishes. This gained an angered reaction. Be quiet. I am tired of it. His aura flared up as he zoomed up, grabbing Todoroki's collar. I am tired of hearing you talk about endeavor. This rebellious streak you're having is honestly stupid. He threw Todoroki back as he stumbled back, still standing. Don't you get it? People who don't go all out are simply going to get killed and die. Do you want that? Todoroki stumbled on his words. But he, stop talking about your father. Can't you see? Ever since I gone all out, you haven't made a single scratch on me, Shoto. Look at yourself, half your power and half a man. He looked on, his rage somewhat subsiding. You aren't like him, you are never going to be like him. That's because everyone is unique and their own person. It's honestly weird, you have completely different quirks. How can you even proclaim that he could control your power? Todoroki seemed almost shell-shocked as he looked on. Izuku grit his teeth as he yelled his heart out. It's your quirk, not his. This caused Todoroki to shudder as he suddenly flashed back to his childhood memories. Shoto, let us train that power of yours. Flashback, me and Mina were walking down the hall, holding onto father's hands. I looked to the side and saw my siblings. They were playing a game of sorts. Fuyumi, Natsuo, and looked down their sister. They're playing a game. Should we join them? She nodded and smiled. Yeah. Let's go play with them. Before we could make our way down there, our father Endeavor showed up, taking us both by the hand and forcing us to go along with him. Dad? Why can't we play with the others? Because as a father, it is my job to make sure you both grow up to be excellent heroes. With potential like yours, there's no telling how strong you could become. Training wasn't fun for either of us. All the training was us fighting our father and being beaten, over and over and over. We kept training till our bodies were sore and our muscles ached from overusing our abilities. The only real friend I had was Mina and the man I talked to in my head. His name was Harlequin. He was there for me and tried to comfort me as much as he could. Mother was also there for us but could never stand up to father. You can't keep treating them like this? Can't you see that I have to do this? These two are children, why are you expecting so much from them? We need them to be strong in case he comes back. Who even is this person you talk about so much? You've done this too many times, ENJI. You talk about this man like it excuses you to overwork our kids like dash, smack. Since then, Mom would stop trying to defend us and training would resume, but this time it was more harsh. Eventually, Shoto, Mina, I want you two to battle each other. What dash? But Dad, I don't want to hurt Mina. You're going to have to do it. Only then will I be able to see how you two progressed. Mina took initiative and started to attack me first. At first I was scared and terrified. I didn't want to hurt her. Why was she being so mean and trying to hurt me? Back then I didn't notice it. Tears. She was crying. I'm gonna win this. Get out of my way, brother. Now that I look back on it, she must have been going all out as to make things faster and easier on the both of us. Shoto, start fighting back. I know you can do better than this. Can't, I don't want to. If you don't fight back, how could you ever hope to survive in the real world? Please stop. I trained you both to be strong. So fight like you mean it. The drops of blood could be heard. Mina checked the left side of her head and felt blood. Her ear had been cut off. She screamed and cried as she covered the blood. I was utterly mortified. I didn't mean to. It was an accident, I just acted without thinking. I healed her out of panic and hoped, prayed it would work. Luckily, it did. However, our relationship was never exactly the same. I could tell that she was scared, scared of me and Dad. I used to watch TV with Mom as we looked at other heroes like the number 2 hero Best Jeanist and number 3 Edgeshot. I always remember looking on with glee as I saw them saving the day. One day, I want to become a hero, but not like Dad. She pat me on my shoulder as she spoke to me in her gentle and soft voice. Of course, sweetie, be the hero you want to be. However, I heard something I likely wasn't supposed to hear. I can't even look at his blue eyes anymore without instantly being reminded of his father. I can't raise him anymore like this or else I'll. Mom, what are you talking about? She turned to me, giving me a cold and dead stare, grabbing a tea kettle and suddenly burning my face with boiling hot water. I yelled out, and while I couldn't see her, I could hear her apologizing in a panic along with the pain of frost being applied to the burn. After that, it only gotten worse. Father No Endeavor had sent her to a mental institution. As he called, I only had one thought in mind. I hate Dad. Present. Shut up. Back in real time of the fight, Shoto's started to glow golden with power. His chastifol had noticeably grew nearly to the side of the stadium. Izuku looked on mesmerized by the sight as he gave a grin. So this is your full power? Todoroki, 6F270D80912B3A025A93180A49CD881.jpg. The crowd look in awe at the seemingly beyond pro-hero ESC power they were witnessing in real time. I'm gonna be the hero I want to be. From the ground below, Izuku picked up a sharp piece of stone as he took a deep inhale, getting in a battle stance. Okay, here we go. Suddenly, he also was enveloped in a golden glow similar to Todoroki. However, it was way more violent. It formed in the shape of a tornado instead of just cloaking him like Todoroki's. Todoroki looked on as he took a few deep breaths. You still have more in you? You really are a monster. Just because I bought it out of you doesn't mean I'll lie down and take it. Todoroki just looked down at him, taking one last deep breath. Don't blame me for what happens next. Midnight, Cementos started to create tall cement walls as to stop the two boys from clashing. Midnight snapped her fingers and created a perfect cube to limit the damage done to everyone around them. If they collide, their bodies are done for. Dash. Izuku dashed as Todoroki at full speed, golden particles being left in his wake. Gotta get close. He clenched the piece of stone harder as he gritted his teeth. And give it everything I got. Todoroki got in a throwing position as he silently talked to himself. Midoriya, thank you. They completely crashed through the walls Cementos made as they went to throw their attacks. True Spirit Spear Chastifol, Revenge Kunti Ear. As the two attacks collided, the ring exploded as it turned into a golden tornado of power that, if not contained, would have most likely destroyed the whole stadium by itself. E06217C7B27066B2705C2A78FF57.jpg. The crowd could only look in awe as they mesmerized the sight to behold as it slowly dispersed into thin air. Smoke clogged up the entire cube as Midnight let down the cube. Hopefully they didn't kill each other in there. As the smoke slowly cleared, it showed Izuku and Shoto were both on the ground, bloodied and beaten. Izuku's arms looked as if they were about to completely fall off, while Todoroki had seemingly suffered major head trauma as he was bleeding from his head. Cementos looked in shock. Call the match. Midnight nodded as she raised her hand. This match is Dash. However, she stopped as she took notice of something. Both of them were still conscious as they struggled to get up. Whoa, incredible. Despite that clash, they still can move and are trying their hardest to outdo the other. What the heck are these kids made out of? Izuku, trying to use his arms slowly, was getting up as he could hear people cheering for him. Midoriya, you can do it. The brown-haired brunette yelled out to him as he continued to struggle. Onai Ikarayan, don't give up. The pink-haired girl yelled out exactly at the same time as Uraraka. Todoroki, hearing this, also tried to pick himself up as he struggled, gaining more motivation from Mina to keep pushing himself. I can't. Not now. Come on, Midoriya. You got this. Shoto, you must become the hero you want to be. Izuku was about to finally get up and finally win. Unfortunately, his arms gave out. Finally, as he gave in to his condition, slowly falling down as he passed out. On the contrary, Todoroki kept going and recalled everyone who was likely riding on him to win this. Mina, Fuyumi, Natsuo. Mom, I will win this for me. For us. Dash. So you can watch. He got on one knee and another, shaking as he stood up slowly but surely. And yes, even you Midoriya can watch me become the hero I want to be. He got up as he screamed loudly. He didn't care if he was going to pass out from lightheadedness. He wanted everyone to know who he was and that he was Shoto Todoroki. Silence. There was nothing but silence. I didn't really hear anything or feel anything. Then suddenly I felt a kiss on the forehead. My heavy eyes lids finally found the strength to lift themselves up, allowing me to see the world again. What I woke up to was an old lady bonking me on the head with her cane. Ow! You two should be careful. You both could have killed yourself from that clash. She yanked me by the ear as I jolted in pain as she continued to scold me. Can you please take it easier? I just woke up. You're lucky I was able to help you when I did. You suffered major head injury from that attack. She let go of my ear when she was done, then turning to the other side of the room. I rubbed my ear as I could hear her start scolding Midoriya. As for you, young man, ow wow dash. You could have killed the boy if you hit him with that much power coincided with the force you propelled yourself off the wall with. Your arms were a complete mess. You both had your classmates worried sick. Wait dash. How long have we been out? She took her focus off of scolding Midoriya as she walked over to me. It's been in 40 minutes at least. Took them 40 minutes to fix the ring, and Ida had just finished his battle with Ibara from Class B. I see. So who is fighting right now? That should be Bakugo and Yaoyorozu. But how do you feel? Todoroki? I looked somewhat shocked as I looked down, clutching the blanket sheets. I want to be a hero of my own. That's good. Glad you feel that way. He got up out of bed, winding his arm up as this confused me heavily. Hey, aren't you still hurt? No, not really. I want to see the next match too. Gotta look ahead and improve. He smiled, walking out the room as I laid back down, looking at the ceiling. I'm gonna be my own hero and do my best. Narrator POV. Izuku made his way out of the nurse's office and eventually made his way back to the spectator stands. Hey guys, Midori Kuunnh dash. Uraraka tackled the boy into a hug, which flustered him, patting her back. Sorry if I worried you at all. Of course you worried me. Half of us thought you and Todoroki killed each other. He didn't know it was that bad. He was too caught up in helping Todoroki and trying to win to focus on that. I'm sorry. I feel like I let you down. He somewhat averted eye contact, looking down in disappointment at himself. She took his face and made him look back up at her. You didn't let me down. You did your best, and that's what matters most. You seem to have helped Todoroki too, so I think you gained a lot, even if you didn't win. She smiled happily, as the boy's eyes lit up as he then smiled back at her. Thanks. I needed to hear that from you. Uraraka-san. Ahem, as Mina cleared her voice, as they both backed up from each other, blushing heavily. Be lovey-dovey somewhere else. We have a match to watch. Alright dash, they said in unison as they sat down in their seats, slightly sweating from being called out like that. Now for this match. We have the Queen of the Earth, Momo Yaoyorozu, and on the left we have the King of Greed, Bakugo Katsuki. The crowd didn't seem exactly supportive to Bakugo as much as they were to Yamamoto. Bakugo simply rubbed the back of his neck as he groaned. He wasn't complaining about having to fight Momo. More so, he was annoyed he would have to hear this exact thing from the crowd again. Forget about the crowd. I want you to go all out, Bakugo. This caused Bakugo to perk up in a little bit of surprise, but that was all he needed to hear as he grinned and got in a battle stance. Now that's what I like to hear. Ready? Clash. Bakugo suddenly dashed at her as he had a grin on his face. He went to attack, until Momo put two hands on the ground, raising into the sky with a pillar of stone. Holy! He backed up a bit and regained his footing, looking up at her as she looked down upon him. She clasped her hands together as she summoned rocks from the floor. Rush rock! She motioned her hand towards Bakugo as the rocks aimed at him. Bakugo rolled under the first, jumped over the second, and then punched the third rock, causing it to break into tiny pebbles. He looked up at her, being able to understand her game plan pretty quickly. The game plan's to outrange me, huh? She looked down at him with her arms crossed. Looks like you're a quick thinker. What's wrong? Scared of a little hand-to-hand? Momo brushed this remark as she smiled confidentially. Of course I'm not scared. I think you should be the one quaking in your boots after all. Can't you see? Bakugo raised an eyebrow, seemingly confused. See what? You're at a natural disadvantage. I can use my powers as freely as I want. This stadium is basically my territory. Bakugo threw a left hook, Momo blocking and hitting him in the liver. Uraraka dash. As he uppercut her jaw, Uraraka. She backed up, looking back at him. Nice punch. As Bakugo rubbed blood off his mouth. I should say the same to you. They re-engaged. Momo went for a punch to the face with him ducking and going for an uppercut, though she dodged by tilting her head back and going for a headbutt which he caught and kneed her stomach. Look at them go. To think this is pure hand-to-hand combat without any usage of quirks either. The crowd cheered, watching the exchange. Suddenly Bakugo started to speed up as within contrast. Momo started to slow down as he bulked up. I told you that you'd never want to fight me in a 1v1, as she somewhat tried fighting back, and I told you. Don't underestimate me. She punched him across the face as blood spewed everywhere as he was sent tumbling back. As he coughed up blood, that was good. Seems despite Bakugo slowing her down, her punches are still heavily deadly. So Earth Girl, how long you want to drag this out? As long as I need to. They dashed at each other, hitting each other in the face as both backed up. Momo putting her hands on the floor. Sand ward. Suddenly the ground under Bakugo turned into sand as he was being brought down by it, sinking. What the WWOH-. It seems as if Momo had turned the area around Bakugo into a sinkhole of some kind. I seen your ability. If I simply time it out, I'll get a free win. He struggled to get out, digging his feet through. The hell dash. Is this quicksand? Of course. I would only be hurting myself by fighting you hand to hand at this point. That means the best course of action is to time you out. Bakugo, despite his stolen strength, was struggling as he tried to get out. I may have not wanted to win like this, but I'll do anything I must. Bakugo gritted his teeth in frustration. Who said? He started to aggressively dig his way out of the quicksand in fury. This is how you'll win. He escaped from the sand ward, jumping and coming down with a punch, in which Momo blocked. You're stronger than I initially thought. I'm sorry for underestimating you. They went back to hand-to-hand combat with Bakugo and Momo clashing punches, leaving them at a standstill. Heavy metal. His eyes widened as he tried to punch her in the stomach. However, she tanked the punch. Hiya! She punched him in the stomach, causing him to spit up blood. This punch hurt more than the last one. I won't deny it. Even through heavy metal, that hurt a lot. But now you'll need more than that to best me. Bakugo then palmed her face and slammed her on the floor. NGH. If you're as heavy as metal, then you'll have a hard time getting upright. He then grabbed her by the legs and started to spin her around with a cackle. Wah! Ahahahaha. Whoa! Bakugo is suddenly spinning Yaoyorozu like a top. He's gonna throw her out the ring. Momo gritted her teeth as she brought her head back and slammed it right into Bakugo's head, butting him. Caulk! Bakugo dropped her as blood spurted from his nose, visibly stunned. Whoa! It seems she got Bakugo to drop her after a deadly head, but if this were anyone else, then they would have been critically injured. Thankfully, Bakugo is basically an undead zombie, so he should heal this back up. Momo saw the opening as the boy was in, as she got up and rushed in, attacking the boy. I can't let him re-cooperate. I have to end this now. Hard left hook, right hook. Jab to the head, and to end it off, a roundhouse kick right to his face. This sent the ash blonde tumbling out of the ring. The winner is Momo Yaoyorozu. Bakugo eventually regained composure as he groaned, rubbing his head. My damn head. That hurt like a bitch? He was now having an annoying headache as Momo walked over to him and apologized for hitting him like that. I'll be fine. Just give me a bit and it'll be just fine. Mina simply floated downward and crossed her arms with a cocky smirk. So what happened to all that bravado? Shut up. I'm having a headache and your nagging isn't gonna make it any better. Oh? POV. Somewhere in a bar. On a small TV, the sports festival was being streamed live. Keep watching Tamura. You'll need this to understand your opponents and their weaknesses. What's the point, Kurogiri? They completely overpower me in the terms of physical strength and quirk. The misty man known as Kurogiri washed a glass of beer. You don't always need strength to overwhelm your opponents. Remember, we still have those Nomu. Shigaraki turned to him, kicking his feet a bit. Ooh, You mean the nomus that were infused with blood from a demon? It was somewhat hard to tell, but he nodded. Yes. We also have a mission from Master in this attack against the sports festival. He looked somewhat intrigued. They had just failed attacking the USJ not even a month ago, and now he wanted to attack again? Mission from Master? What kind of mission? Kurogiri put the glass down, pulling out a piece of jewelry. A necklace with a gem in the middle of the necklace. This is what's known as a goddess amber. It will allow you to seal away any demon no matter how strong they are. Shigaraki, while hearing all of this, was only focused on the word demon being used. A demon? You're telling me Master wants us to kidnap a demon in UA? Where are we gonna find that? Kurogiri looked at him silently before answering. Actually, Master told us where to find one. All right. Where can we find it in UA? Kurogiri suddenly took out a controller, rewinding the broadcast as he stopped it on the start of the Izuku and Todoroki battle, where they walked up. He stopped the broadcast again on the close-up to Izuku specifically. Shigaraki's eyes widened. He understands now. He had a devilish grin grow on his face, scratching his neck aggressively. I get it. The Master's son is a demon. It all makes sense now. So what are your calls to action now, Lord Tamura? It's obvious, Kurogiri. We're gonna raid the sports festival. Todoroki sat in the waiting room, taking off his bandages as he waited to be called. Todoroki, a voice called to him. He turned, and to his surprise, it was Yaoyorozu as she walked over to him. I didn't expect you to be here. This caused Momo to laugh a little. Sorry for surprising you, she inhaled as she continued. I want you to go all out like you did against Midoriya. This earned a somewhat shocked reaction from him. Didn't she see what he did before? She wanted to fight that side of him. Really? Are you sure? She nodded, putting a hand on her chest. Yes, I want to gauge my strength compared to yours. I want to get up to that incredible display of power you and Midoriya showed. Todoroki was quite flabbergasted. He wasn't really used to being complimented on his strength, as his father would only ever tell him to improve. Though he was skeptical and sort of mentally drained, not to say he wasn't physically tired, he definitely was. However, it took so much mentally out of him to do all that. If you don't want to, then I understand. I won't force you to do it. But you just dash. Well, yeah, but that's sort of what I want, rather than something you want, right? Momo had a different approach compared to something like Izuku or Endeavor. She didn't want to go on a whole motivation speech about why Todoroki should use it and force it out of him, instead giving him a choice to use it or not. Why? Why are you telling me all this? He looked away. He was trying to understand as to why he was starting to ease up more. That's because I want to know you. I want to help all my friends. I want to be with everyone and help as many lives I can for the better. She backed up, going to the door before turning back to him and giving a smile. Because that's the will of the earth and me, to live in peace and harmony with others. Todoroki's face slightly lit up as he smiled. Fine, if that's what you wish for. He couldn't exactly describe it or understand it. He had treated her like a sort of tool and threw her away when it started, but she still wanted to be friends with him. Same with Midoriya, he couldn't understand it. I want to make true and life-lasting friends out of the people. Suddenly his name was called as he walked out the room. Walking down the hall, he felt hopeful and happy as he walked down, in which he finally saw the light. This match we have the Prince of Nature and the son of the #1 hero Shoto Todoroki, who'll be fighting a member from another family of heroes. Tenya Ida. The crowd cheered. It sounded exciting. The #1 hero's son fighting against the son of a family whose children have been raised to be heroes. The prospect was exciting, at least the prospect of it. It wasn't really a fair fight. Ida struggled the entire time. Todoroki's ability to fly made it so hard for him to actually attack in this setting, especially since he was a close-range fighter. Even Recipro Burst wouldn't help him. The gap in abilities was too large, as he was simply outclassed. This resulted in Todoroki's victory, as he simply gave a respectful handshake. It was a good fight. Ida looked at him and took his hand, shaking it as well. I promise I'll get stronger, so I can reach up to you and the others. Todoroki kept his poker face as he looked forward to it. Ida made his way out of the ring, eventually encountering Izuku and Uraraka. Are you all right? You got beat pretty bad. Ida simply fixed his glasses as he sighed. I understand, but all this has shown me is how much I need to improve in certain aspects. That wasn't to say he didn't feel like a disgrace. He had disappointed his family, at least that's what he felt like happened. As he walked past, he could only beg to his brother to forgive him. I really hope he's all right. Izuku nodded in agreement with her, also worried for his speedy friend. Yeah, he seemed really bummed out. He and Uraraka traveled back to the spectator stands as to watch the next fight in the making. Hey, we gotta go back to spectating. Mina and Momo are gonna fight any moment from now. She lit up, remembering that the tournament was still ongoing. Oh yeah, let's go. They ran to the spectator stands. As they did, Todoroki passed by as he was going there himself. Oh, hello you two. Izuku saw him and smiled, greeting him kindly. Hey Todoroki, I expected you to be at the bleachers already. I expected that from you too as well. They walked down together as Achiko looked at him. Hey, you gonna cheer for your sister? Of course. She cheered for me, so I want to return the favor. Though Todoroki wouldn't really be opposed to whoever won really, he'd still would like if Mina won. Eventually, they sat down to spectate the fight. The next match would be the second one until the finale. It was Mina versus Yamamoto. Once they both got to the ring, they took a good look at each other. I hope a good match to you. Yamamoto bowed, with Mina bowing in response to her. Indeed. Once they finished talking, President Mike proceeded to, well, get on the mic. Now it'll be the princess of the #1 hero, fighting against the princess of Earth. Reminder everyone, this is the second to last match in the festival. Whoever wins will fight Todoroki Shoto in the finals to decide who wins. So be ready to clash. The match started with Mina immediately swiping her hand as she created a giant gust of wind to blow away Momo. Thankfully, Momo had an exact thing to counter this. Heavy metal. Her skin suddenly turned into pure metal as she simply stood in the face of the wind, not moving at all. Humph. Good thing I learned this, or else this would have been way harder to get close. She suddenly rushed at Mina. This shocked her as she flew back, dodging Momo's attack. That metal thing may be useful, but making yourself metal will only make it harder for you to reach me. She continued to swipe air at her. However, she didn't move as she simply walked through it. You're not that strong close range. All I need to do is close the gap somehow. Mina continued to simply make gust of wind to stop Momo, though she couldn't move her. On the other hand, Momo couldn't exactly attack either, as she was far too heavy to simply go up to her and attack. At least that's what Mina thought. Momo proceeded to summon rocks as she raised her hand. Rush rock. Mina prepared to block the incoming attack, at least until she saw what Momo was doing. She's jumping from rock to reach towards me dash. She used more strength to create more winds to possibly steer away the rocks from Momo's grasp, as she had to get out of heavy metal to even jump that high without falling like a brick. Before she could make it to the last one, Mina blew it away as Momo started to fall. I don't need to worry as long as you're on the ground. As Momo fell, she did a few hand signs as she smiled. Who says I need to be the one who catches you? Mina looked on confused until suddenly she was grabbed by a giant set of hands. What the dash? She was brought back down as she looked on shocked. Wow. It seems Yaoyorozu was able to make 2 rock golems to get on top of each other and grab Mina to bring her back down to earth. Mina struggled, but she didn't have enough physical strength to break out. As she wiggled around, the golems held her as Momo looked at her. It was a good fight, but as I seen from you, you aren't that great in hand-to-hand combat or in physical terms. All I needed was to do was keep you in grasp so I could win. Mina, can you move at all? This deserved a sigh from the pink-skinned girl. No. Midnight then waved her hand. Then we declare Momo Yaoyorozu the winner of this match. This earned a reaction from Momo as she proceeded to jump up and down as the crowd cheered. She cheered, I did it! Now I get to fight Todoroki in the finals. I'm so proud for you, Momo. Thank you, Diane. It means a lot to me. Momo walked out the ring, waving, just liking the fact people are supporting her, which she appreciated. Waiting room. Izuku sat in the waiting room. He had told Uraraka and Bakugo he would be back in a little bit. You got a bad feeling something's gonna happen? Yeah. Something is brewing in the air. He just sat there, his blade on the table. He couldn't exactly bring it to fight or anything in the tournament, but he had it on standby just in case. I gotta get ready for it. A Midoriya dash? Izuku turned to see Todoroki, as he smiled nervously as he had pretty much come out of nowhere. Oh hey Todoroki. I see you're getting ready for your match with Yamamoto. Yes. I was getting prepared for the fight against her in a good battle. Get ready. Todoroki was confused at Izuku's vague words. raising an eyebrow. If you're asking me to get ready for my match, then I already dash. No, not that. Well, yes, but something else. He grabbed his sword as he put it on his back, looking at Todoroki in worry and concern. I feel like something's gonna happen. You don't gotta take my word for it. I might be paranoid from the last villain attack. Todoroki nodded, seeing where he was coming from as he felt a little tense too. Though he wanted to assume it was that and not the fact he was fighting Momo since she was so kind and tender to him before. He walked out and back to the spectator stands with the rest as Uraraka looked at him. "You're back, Midori." She then noticed that his sword was on his back as she looked a bit curious. "Why'd you bring your sword?" "I just feel safer with it around. Just a personal thing." "Oh, all right." She then gave him a look of worry towards him. "So, have you talked Ida or anything?" He shook his head, taking a deep sigh. "Nope. He left after he told us about needing to leave to check on his family." Before either of them could ponder on it further, Present Mike came online. "All right, everyone. Let's get ready for the final match of the sports festival." The crowd cheered at this, as they hoped this match would be a good one. Possibly better than Izuku versus Todoroki. "I'm with you folks. We got the Queen of the Earth, Momo Yaoyorozu, against the King of Nature Shoto Todoroki. Kind of funny, especially since both go hand in hand." They got in a stance ready for battle, giving each other a stern look. "Ready? Clash." Shoto immediately started to throw Chastifol at her. She immediately activated heavy metal as it simply grinded off her metal skin. This resulted Todoroki keeping his distance by flying up. Exactly like Mina, however, he had many better strategies to keep her away. Creating vines to restrict her movements was a good idea. Damn it! These vines! She ripped out of them, though it was a slow process which lowered her guard, and she was thereon met with a hit in the face as a sound of clanging could be heard as she cocked her head back, as it had came at her pretty hard. "Ugh, dash!" She shook it off, ripping off the last remaining vines. She got in a stance ready to continue the battle. Shoto followed. The crowd cheered in excitement as the battle seemingly was getting better as they stood there, stanced up. It seems they're both waiting for the other to make a move first. Truly battle of minds. They stood there waiting until it happened. From the sky, multiple red, Nomu-looking creatures dropped from the sky as they fell onto some people in the audience as the students and staff could only look shocked. "That's not a part of the act," Mike said as he ran out of the room to help the students. Aizawa was infuriated as he couldn't do much because of his injuries. The crowd roared in horror as the red demonic creatures attacked them. "Please help me." Civilians cowered and ran in fear from the Nomu. They rampaged through the crowd as the students got ready to fight. TCH. These things again. Bakugo went to help the civilians while Izuku jumped down to deal with the other Nomu on the ground. "So I was right. There was something wrong." Todoroki and Momo stood back to back as they fought off Nomu of their own. They made quite the duo, Momo creating mud golems to deal with the Nomu as Todoroki also utilized his multiple kunai to kill multiple. Izuku activated his demon mark as he dashed across the stadium, killing multiple Nomu with a series of slashes. He looked at the top of the stadium to see a certain teal-haired man standing above it all and watching the chaos. Seems like the audience is dying for an encore with the Prince of Destruction. Shigaraki! He gained a twisted grin, scratching at his neck in excitement. "This will be so much fun." Shigaraki jumped down with a twisted grin plastered on his face as he landed. He started to disintegrate the ground, as the ring started to disintegrate along with the grass. However, before he could continue, a string of fire whizzed past his face as this caused him to get up. "I don't think so, villain." It was Endeavor who had shot a small beam of fire. "Ah yes, the number one hero. Unfortunately for you, we aren't here to kill you." However, Endeavor was suddenly attacked by multiple Nomu as they dog-piled onto them. These things again. Shigaraki walked past him as he slowly approached Izuku. "It would be a nice side objective." "Then why are you here?" He got in a battle stance with Shigaraki's smile only growing. "For you, obviously." Shigaraki snapped his fingers, as suddenly Nomu cried out and grabbed Izuku by his arm. "What the? Get off!" He charged up fire in his free hand, but even then, another Nomu grabbed his other arm, both of them holding him up. "TCH. Get the hell off me." He powered up more, trying to get them to release him. The Nomu struggled as he created a shockwave of energy. "It's so funny seeing you squirm. You're like some kind of wild animal." He stood in front of Izuku, smiling and turning. "How about we get out of here with our prize?" Izuku gritted his teeth as if he was at full power. He would have definitely been able to blow off these Nomu, but because of his brutal fight with Todoroki, he hadn't fully healed. However, the Nomu were blown away with a strong gust of wind, causing them to release Izuku as he turned to see. Mina had used her power of wind to blow them away as she held out her hands. "Be careful, Midoriya." Shigaraki grimaced in annoyance as he held his hand out. More Nomu coming from warp gate portals. "Let's see if you can handle this hero." He got in a battle stance as he deeply exhaled, his pupil shrinking. "I'll destroy all of them." In a sudden burst of speed, Izuku went on to eliminate multiple Nomu as blood spurted everywhere. It was almost majestic in a gory type of way. In the meantime, Kirishima and Tetsu, with the help of the pros like Snipe, were using teamwork to try and take down as many Nomus as they could. "Get M. Snipe, you got it, kid." Snipe then shot the thing in the brain and killed it as they all took a deep sigh. "No, you aren't exactly that bad." "Neither are you, bro. Now isn't the time, boys." Mina was supporting any student from the sky by blowing away Nomu if they ever got overwhelmed. Todoroki proceeded to help their father by using Chastifol and its multiple forms to kill mass amount of Nomu. "Shoto? Calm down, old man. I'm doing this because I can't let you die. That would be the easy way out. Plus, we have people to save." Endeavor got up, dusting himself off. "You're right, Shoto. Let us continue." Momo was left by herself to deal with them. However, she was very capable, dealing with multiple Nomu at a time thanks to her golems and brute strength, along with her technique and control on her powers made it easier to keep them at bay. Shigaraki POV. While the brat dealt with Master's toys, I had fled the main stage. He had grown stronger than I had anticipated. Fighting him was a choice of suicide. I needed to lure him in, something that would let him drop his guard and allow me to capture him. What could that thing be, though? "Everyone get out of here. We'll take care of it, but for now you need to get focused on leaving the stage." I looked to one of the evacuation groups and saw a girl with brown hair helping the pro-hero present Mike evacuate citizens. However, I wasn't focused on him. "That girl. She's from Midoriya's class." "Kurojiiri." "Yes, master." "Let's make a quick stop for a moment before we continue pursuing the boy." Narrator POV. As they evacuated citizens, Uraraka was suddenly gripped at by the neck. HRK-. "If you don't mind, I'll be needing this really quickly." Present Mike turned around as he saw the pale-faced villain grab Uraraka. "Gonna need you to let of my friend's students." He got ready to attack, but Shigaraki put Uraraka in front of it and his hand near the ground. AP. "Don't attack hero or you'll be the reason everyone here, including the girl, is turned into sawdust." Mike stopped as he gritted his teeth. He couldn't fire off an attack at him due to many reasons. Much as he hated it, he had to stand down. If he did attack, everyone, and Uraraka included, would die. "Good. Now go back to being a good dog and evacuate the citizens." Shigaraki backed up slowly into the wrap gate made by Kurojiiri. "Don't worry, I won't kill her. I just need to borrow her really quickly." Meanwhile, with the Todoroki family, things were looking fine. Iya. Endeavor shot fire at the horde of Nomu as he struggled to keep them at bay. NGH. "Let me help you, Endeavor." Suddenly, a strong gust of wind empowered his flames as it turned into more of a heat wave than just a fire blast. "Thank you, Mina. Now let us continue at full power." "Right." They both roared as they created it into a combo move and created a sort of fire tornado, completely incinerating the Nomu. That was only going well for Mina and Endeavor. Todoroki was running on fumes, however. He had done much more fighting compared to the both of them, of those fights where he suffered major head injury and was fighting Momo. This by every means meant he wasn't at his best. "They just keep coming. How many are there?" A Nomu grabbed Todoroki by the neck as he started to strangle him, Todoroki's feet dangling as he coughed, trying to flick his fingers to get Chastifol for help. Before he could, though, Endeavor grabbed the Nomu by the head. "Take your hands off my son!" Endeavor roared as he slowly fried the Nomu's head as his flames even turned blue, eventually killing it by burning it to death. Todoroki coughed and caught his breath as he landed back on the ground. "Now we're even." Todoroki scoffed as he got up and dusted himself off. Whatever, old man. FUM 695111236F442AC869276ECT5161.jpg. The family took notice of it. A burst of demonic energy. That's Midoriya's power? Before this, Izuku POV. Deep breathes. Take deep breaths, Izuku. Blood everywhere. My sword was covered in it, but I had to keep going. It didn't matter if I was tired, it didn't matter if I was hurt. I needed to keep fighting. Slice. Another inhuman cry from the Nomu as it died. I have killed so many I feel like I lost count. My sword, it reeked of demon blood, but I can't shake off the thoughts that these were once humans. Oh, Midoriya! I looked to my left and he wasn't there. I looked to my right and saw him though. You could only imagine the look on my face when I saw likely who he brought with him. I have a surprise for you. Midori. I could feel my heart sinking into the pit of my stomach. He held Uraraka up by the neck as he shook her. If you want her, come and get her. Kid, wait, this could be a trap? That warning Meliodas gave me simply fell on deaf ears. Uraraka was in trouble. I couldn't bother to care about anything else at that moment. Zoom. I went as fast as I possibly could and reached out for her. If I was just fast enough, I can free her. I can stop Shigaraki and put an end to all of this. Uraraka. Midoriya. She extended her hand out to me as well. As I went to grab it, nothing. All I saw was a white light, then nothing. Uraraka POV. Izuku was gone. He was coming towards me. He was coming to help me, but then all I saw was a white light and now he's gone. I was thrown out of his hands as I was finally able to catch my breath. Cough, cough, cough. I looked up as he held some type of jewelry in his hand before growing a sneer on his face. Ha! Ha ha! Ha ha ha! Ha 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 hey ha 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 ha. I was so confused, scared and worried. Why was he laughing so much? What did he do to Izuku? Master was right. You really are a demon. I can't believe it. A demon? That can't be. Those don't exist, right? Plus, even if they did, demons are always depicted as mean and with horns, but he had none of those. You specifically have been a pain in my ass so for long. Now I have you in the palm of my hands. No time. Save Izuku now and question later. He had seemingly forgotten about me. I can get a surprise attack here. I quickly ran up and charged up the best punch I could. Ugh? I actually sent him back a bit. I grabbed Izuku's sword and the jewelry he dropped, pointing the sword at him. What did you do to Izuku? Tell me now. He slowly got up, scratching his neck as I backed up. I can't get caught again. If I do, I'll be dead for sure and they'll take Izuku. Doesn't it seem obvious? Or are you really that stupid? The way he talked, it was so raspy. He sounded like he hadn't drank anything in days. What you are holding currently is the goddess Amber. He pointed at the jewelry in my hands. I slightly brought my hand back as I held it. I don't know exactly when it was made. What I have been told by my master is that it was created for the sole purpose of capturing demons. Stop calling him that. Izuku isn't a monster or anything like that. He's the kindest and one of the strongest people I know. You're so stubborn, it's annoying me. He charged at me. I prepared myself as I dodged his first attack and even managing to cut him with Izuku's sword. NGH. You brat. I tried to swing at him again, but he grabbed my arm and started using his quirk. It hurt. It hurt so badly and I didn't know what to do. All I could do was plead for help. Help me. Please, someone help me. I could feel my skin decaying and falling off. Please, Izuku, I know you're in there. Izuku, please.
Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey today. I hope you enjoyed exploring the fascinating what-if scenario of Deku. If you found this video entertaining and thought-provoking, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to me and inspires me to bring you more captivating content in the future. Stay tuned for more exciting what-ifs coming your way. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and keep embracing the power of imagination. Goodbye everyone.